What about Julius? And you the host?
You live?
Yeah, we live.
No, you're hosting.
No, and I was but it's good to be here, guys. It's good to be here. Good to see you. Lofa, take
Yeah.
it, take it in and hold. Take it.
Well, no, actually, it's good to be here. Today is another special edition of the closing argument. Great to be here, everybody. As you guys know, we have our studio guest tonight. Since Massa Washington, the former TRC commissioner, who will be joining us. So great to be here, Ben. What's going on in your end of the world? I know North Carolina is not cold today. It's really the weather feel good though. I don't know about your end.
What are you talking about?
What you
It's
mean?
6 degrees there, not cold.
You call that cold?
Dude,
God,
I don't like the cold.
man.
So anything that's not 60 something and above or 70 and above, I consider it cold.
Yeah, you probably then I just say every winter just go to Liberia.
Yes. Yes, I would love to. I would love to. But it's good to be here. It's good to see you. Thank you for. I like the
Yeah.
suit, bro. I like the suit. What's going on?
Hey man, hey, I'm trying to catch up with you. I'm
It's
trying.
all
I'm
right.
trying to catch up with you. When I get there, it'll be good.
Oh my God! But it's good to see you. It's good to see you. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Peabody and Tomalin, I think they're in the back. They will soon be joining. It's good to see everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm looking forward to this edition. I'm looking forward to talking to Madam Washington. I think she's an asset for our country. She's someone who
Right.
has served our country very well. Very controversial in many ways. In many ways, right?
Yes.
Her thought process, the position that she takes. She's not known to take popular positions. I've been privy to see some of the decisions that she has made, and they're not bad. I'm just saying, the traditional norm of following what the popular thought is something that she's not used to doing. So I'm listening. I'm really, really looking forward to hearing her thoughts on what has happened, right, from the
Right.
elections to the coming Buckeye era, the WIA era, the post WIA era, and then looking into the future. So we're looking forward to having a very, very great conversation with her today. Like I said, she is someone who I highly, highly regard. I mean, I follow, Lufa, one of the things that I do a lot is I go on YouTube and I watch these TRC tapes, right?
Documentary.
The different testimonies. And one of my favorite ones is the one with Cyril Allen, and then there's another one with Prince Johnson. There's another one I think with Joe Wiley and Massa Washington. Boy, I'm telling you, she she get it. She let them have it. You know when they try to push, But it's good to be here, guys. It's good to be here, and thank you for for hosting this. Thank you, Lofa.
Most definitely. Like like we always say, it's not. It's rare that some of us will have the opportunity to sit with personality like says Martha Washington, other people who played pivotal role in our history, something that she will actually be remembered for throughout and even after her grandkids, great grandkids, and everything. So I'm definitely glad to be a part of this conversation, and just to interact with her and get to know. I met her in person. Great woman, and I'm great. She's here. She's already in the back. So
Yeah,
hopefully the rest of the guys can join us and
yeah.
kind of get it going from there.
Yeah, let's encourage everybody to please share the show. This is a big, big, big interview. I think
Right,
everybody should share the show. It's going to be a build up, as you know how it goes.
right.
There's going to be a build up. Want to encourage everybody to share the show. Kev, it's good to see you. I don't know why you have an empty bottle of water next to you. You want to act like you're drinking water. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you can you can put it because I know you don't drink water, so I don't know why you're trying to. Exactly. I know what in a cup, so it's okay. But yeah, no. One of the things that I'm interested in knowing from her, and it's probably going to be one of my first questions. I mean, before she talk about everything, I want to get her thoughts on the transitional process and the issue of transitional justice, right?
Okay.
It's
Mhm.
something that has been evading Liberia, administration after administration, administration after administration. What are her thoughts? What does she think? What are her expectations from the Buckeye administration? Will they be able to pull the trigger on the issue of justice for those people who, because they did a lot of work when it came to the TRC, and I don't think the TRC should be. I've always said I don't think the report should be swept under the rug. Uh,
Right.
but we are where we are. Yeah, Kev, you want to say something before we bring Washington on?
With that, exactly, I just want to say hi to everybody and hope to hear her and and listen to her. I think she first with a lot of experience and more. I want to know more about the TRC and what we head into. If the TRC is dead, uh, and let's should tell us more about the TRC.
You guys, if you will please share the show, invite others to be a part of this conversation. This is one that a lot of us will have to take a lot of things from here. So, welcome, Dr. Peabody. Um, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, buddy. Coming to you guys from work. Technically, yeah, I want to see talk to Vasa when she comes. I want to know what her take on the waiver section, especially some of those were initiated by her former boss. He been on Capitol Hill testifying on different things, and what is her take on the issue with that of Jefferson Coachy and others? That her former boss was somehow involved. So I'd like to see her take, and also what's happening, especially what came out on the front page newspaper today that government employee have not taken pay because there was a $5 million taken from the central bank that
Mm.
have not been paid. I'm interested in talking about this as well.
So, Tomalin,
It's good to see you guys again. It's good to be back. I've known Madam Washington for the longest and any of you guys. In fact, prior to the war, both of us attended the French school, the Alliance Française, International School of the French Language and Civilization, and but then we were very cool. But later on, politics came in. She was critical of the weird government initially, but later on, when I saw her with when she went during the course of the weird administration, went there, I just raised the issue, and she took she got offended with that, and then in Monrovia during the election, she wrote a whole post on me, and I didn't respond to the post. I just let it go. But it will be interesting conversation. And moreover, to the TRS report, there were two commissioners who did not sign that report. That caused that report to be in a little bit in jeopardy. The late Kafuma Kone and Councillor Pearl Brown Boo, the two of them did not sign that report. Maybe Madam Washington will give us some guidance of understanding why the report, why they didn't sign the report, and why up to now the report is yet to be implemented. So welcome, Madam Washington. We hope to have a very cordial and civil conversation with her. And like Ben said, she's a veteran media person. She's been in the business for long, and she's an asset to the country. She'll be a great help to anywhere in the media section of the country, because that's her area of expertise, and she comes with a lot of experience, and she highly respected in the media industry in our country. So look forward to having a good conversation with her.
thank you. I guess with that said, we will now bring on Sis Massa or Washington. Um, we're gonna have to put her in the middle here. So, welcome.
Put a guest up. Oh, go ahead.
There you go. There you go. Sis Massa, welcome to the closing argument. I want to believe this is your debut on here, but we want to welcome you. Thank you for being a part of today's conversation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for hosting me. Actually, it's a privilege to be on your show. I think you guys are against all odds. I think you're doing exceptionally well. And I want to congratulate you for putting this talk show together that has claimed the admiration of the people of Liberia. Um, I want to say hello to everybody, but individual. I don't know some people. I know some people, but let me say hello to my brother Tomani George. Tomani, please lift your head. Family stick and bend. It can break. You know how I am. You know me from way back, Tomani. I'm not a stranger to you. I will say it as it is, but I don't keep any message. That's too crazy. I mean, you disagree with me for one issue, and then all of a sudden everything that you stand for goes out the door. No, I don't operate that way. I will state my case and move on. So Tomalin, we cool. I wish you had let me say hello first before I start making fuss.
Oh,
Keff Hassan, Keff, he just balanced now. He's like, oh my boy. So hello to everybody. Ben, I met you before.
good to
How
see
are
you.
you?
Good to see you.
We were there during the days of the war. You were a youth.
Yeah.
You play your role rather. Mr. Keff Hassan, I don't believe I've met you before, but hello. It's good to meet your acquaintance anyway. And Reverend Peabody, I think I've met you. And everybody else, what's the young man? I'm not saying your name. The young man below with the gray
Oh,
t-shirt.
Robert Gagua, yeah.
Robert Gagua. Oh, but you see, you are without your coat suit, so I don't recognize you.
I know, right?
Yeah, so
I'm at
how are you,
home. I'm at
Robert?
home today. I'm not in
Yes.
the office today. So
Okay, how are you, Robert? And
excellent.
Luca,
Thank
thank you very much for inviting me on your show. And I think it's a good thing for all of us to be involved in this national or discussion concerning our country. I don't think we should ever stop talking, whether good or bad, whether oppositional or part of the team, whatever it is, we need to keep talking. But how bad I prefer if we're just respectful to everybody, state your point. You don't have to be degenerate of other people. You don't have to put people down. So that's where I'm from. I will state my point, but I will try to be as respectful as I can. So thank you very much. And I look forward to engaging in the worthwhile evening.
Great. Great start. Great start. Hopefully as we go through, we will the fight will come up between you and Tomalin, but I'll sit back and referee the fight. But Robert, welcome to the show. Robert left. Okay. Well, let's get into this. Again, we'll start off with our regular 2 questions a person, and I want to jump into the questioning because I'm eager to know quite a few things. Let's start off with the status of the TRC report. What is the current status of it, Sis Marcia?
Well, I think you probably have some knowledge as to where the status of the TRC report right now. I think it's in limbo. The TRC final report and recommendations are in limbo. And I say that because the recommendations have not been implemented. And according to the TRC Act, Article 10 on reporting and requirement, all recommendations of the TRC report should be implemented. But as you know, they have not been implemented, starting from the administration of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf all the way to President George Weah. It has not been implemented. So the TRC right now is in the report is in limbo.
All right. When you say the report is in limbo, that brings me to the question of the possibility. All right, the prospect of having the recommendation implemented under the boycott-led government. I know the wish for most Liberian was to have to the CDC-led government have it implemented. Unfortunately, that did not happen. What is the prospect of having the TRC recommendation implemented under the boycott-led government?
That's a very good question, and thank you very much. And I would just like to be myself and speak honestly and frankly. Actually, I don't see any hopefulness for the implementation of the TRC recommendations, only because of several reasons. One, because of history. History is a predictor. Past history and past behavior is a predictor of future behavior. So the history with the TRC or final report and recommendations is that when the commission submitted its final report to the President of the Republic of Liberia, Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, on June 30th, 2009, immediately it caused a frenzy because we were tough in the recommendations because we thought we'd leave a gift to the people of Liberia. We thought coming from war, we felt that the country was being rebirthed and it was an opportunity to do everything right, including clean our house with accountability and stuff like that. But the president of the republic at the time, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, is named on the sanction list. She's one of 50 persons that's named on the sanction list. That is the illustration part of the TRC's recommendation. And not only her, but a couple of, some of her colleagues and people that she loved. And she being the president at the time, people were wondering, what were we thinking to put the president to name her in the TRC report? She was a popular president internationally, but she was not popular nationally, because I guess Liberian people will know each other more than our foreign friends. So once she was in the report, listed on the sanction list, we had actually said that after her first term, it was only fair to the people of Liberia, and based upon the role that she played in the Liberian politics, it was not all the, a lovey-dovey role that she played. And also we know that she was also a part of the war. So we had said, but because there were some things that were taking place, the country was being restructured, and she was doing some, some good things. Not everything was bad about her administration. So we look at all of that and we said, well, we didn't want to disrupt the restructuring of the country. So we recommended that, she could remain in her presidency in her first term, but after her first term was over, to please go into honorable retirement, because we felt that it would have been completely unfair and disingenuous to other people who we were listing in the report as having been part of the problem, but then the president, who everybody know, she was she was one of those who was key in the war and all of that, and she came to the TRC and said yes, she did support Mr. Taylor, but she said initially, and she said she gave $10,000, but our research and inquiry department came up with more. So we recommended her for sanctions. So because of that, Ellen decided to challenge the report, and she just completely ignored the report, and she ran for president again and won. So that was the initial demise, I would call it natural demise of the implementation of the report. Now you will understand, we didn't think that she would do that. We thought that she would be magnanimous. We thought that because Ellen came on board, this popular president who was smart, who was educated, and who have a human rights background, because don't forget, she struggled in the Dole years. So even though she did some things, but she also struggled, she went to prison and everything. So people were hopeful that, given her background, that she would be magnanimous, that the country would be placed first. So we kind of figured that even if we name her in the report, we said we think she will go ahead, implement the recommendations, because she would be doing it for the country and not necessarily, for her own aggrandizement. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And so they immediately threw the report into this frenzy of political dragnet. And next thing you know, people were paying people to come and denounce the TRC and all sort of things all over the place. Now, when George Weah won the presidency, I will tell you still, we were hopeful. And the reason we were hopeful is that Weah is a younger person. Weah is an icon. And also Weah came from the background of being UNICEF ambassador for children. And when Weah was named UNICEF ambassador for children, I remember his speech that he gave was, the people who use child soldiers, children as instrument of war to fight the war, drug them, took them out of school, denied them the opportunity to have their youth in a normal way. He wanted prosecution for them. So against that background, we said, what, Weah will implement it. And then also, President Weah had nothing to do with the war. He and his key officials, none of them are listed in the TRC report. So that's what we're hopeful. We say, well, if anybody will implement it this time around, it would be George Weah, because one, his background as a peace ambassador, two, the speech he made that he wants accountability for people who use children in the war, and three, George Weah is not named anywhere in the TRC report. None of his people are on any list in the TRC report. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. We sent messages. We were open to meeting with him, to discuss with him. We even sent him a full copy of the report, because the first thing we heard when we tried to do some backdoor, negotiation to find where he was with the implementation of the TRC report, the feedback we got was that, he didn't have a copy of the report. Now, when the report was submitted, we presented 2 copies to the president's office out of courtesy. So we kind of figured that if she was leaving office, she would take 1 set but leave 1 set for successor. But then it was our understanding that President Weah didn't get a set of the TRC report. So we put together a complete set of the report for him and send it. But it didn't happen. Let me just try to make my explanation short. It didn't happen. And so I would say we're disappointed that President Weah didn't think that it was important or expedient or necessary to have implemented the TRC recommendations within his administration. And I actually think that helped to really misrepresent him too, because he would have, in my estimation, even as I speak to, I'm a member of the International Consortium for Human Rights and also for the implementation of the TRC recommendations. I'm in International Human Rights Circle. And people were thinking that Weah is going to leave a legacy as that president who was a human rights president, because what other better way to bring the War Crimes Code, to implement other recommendations, to start the human rights, real human rights culture for Liberia. Weah would have left a legacy. And then also, if he had decided to implement the TRC recommendations, the international community was willing to fund it. Like UN Ambassador for War Crimes, now Beth, when she went to Liberia last year, she told them, she said, "You don't worry about, whether you got the money to do or not. We got the money, we will fund it." The EU has been standing by forever and ever to, help fund the TRC recommendation, especially the War Crimes Code. So it was not something that was going to be, a financial burden on the government. But for some reason or another, it never happened. I kind of figured, I know some of the reason, I may be wrong, but I think one of the reasons was this unholy relationship and unholy wedlock that all of them keep having with perpetrators, especially Prince Johnson. And this thing with Nima County, we got to demystify Nima County, all of us. When I say we, all of us Liberians who really want Liberia to go forward, because Prince Johnson has hijacked Nima County. He's turned Nima County into a proverbial country all by itself, where he's this proverbial prime minister. And so, Prince Johnson has been using Nima County, unfortunately, as an instrument of blackmail against every president from Sirleaf all the way to George Weah. So I guess having had Prince Johnson as a key ally who supported both Sirleaf and also President Weah, I guess they kind of figure that maybe they needed to protect him, or maybe they didn't need to throw him under the bus. So I'm kind of thinking it's part of those things, but then maybe other things also went to play. But I think President Weah really missed it there when he didn't implement the recommendations and brought the War Crimes Code, for the fact that it would have helped the economy as well. Because all those international organizations were to come to Liberia to help with this process. It's a huge process. Ben talked about, transitional justice processes and what it entailed, and I will go into it later on the show. But any form of transitional justice process is a huge form. TRC is one. Institution or War Crimes Code and seeing it to its full implementation is one, memorialization and all that. So it would have a big project for the government that would have brought in that foreign currency that the government needed, because they had, struggle with the economy. So I don't know who, I kind of think sometimes people advise the president wrongly sometimes, but then sometimes the presidents, I think they can have their own mind. They can decide what they want for the presidency, what agenda item they want to implement. So it's unfortunate, but for me, the biggest disappointment is with President Weah, and I say so respectfully. I respect the president, but the biggest disappointment is with him, because he had every reason to implement the recommendations. Ellie Johnson Sirleaf had one reason not to implement the recommendation.
Yeah, says Masa, can I maybe let me come in? Thank you, and again, it's good to see you. Welcome again, and thank you for your service to the country. Not too often we tend to give people their flowers, regardless of whatever disagreements people may have. If someone served the country, I think it is incumbent upon us as a nation to appreciate that service. No one is flawless, no one is perfect, but I think the work that you guys have done or did with the TRC and with other advocacies that you guys have been involved with. It deserves our commendation. But let me ask you a question about. You talk about you said you're not too hopeful with the Buckeye administration because obviously Prince Johnson is again in the mix, right? So in fact, it's even further. Prince Johnson party is the one that's holding the vice presidency under this administration. So if there was any hope, based on your analogy, if there was any hope, at least under We Are and Ellen, he didn't have this, he wasn't this entrenched. So, but let me ask you a question about individual people who feel, because we see this all around the world now, right? We've seen other perpetrators of alleged perpetrators of war crimes. I want to be very careful legally, right? Who have been arrested in Europe. There have been generals of respective warring factions who other countries like Belgium and all these other countries are taking things into their own hand. Is there any way possible something like that can happen in Liberia? Because murder is a capital punishment crime or whatever. I'm not a lawyer. I'm trying to be very careful how I speak here, right? If someone accuses this person of allegedly murdering their family, is there a way they can seek legal remedy through the Liberian courts, or come to the United States and file a case here or something? Are these some of the things that people could explore? I just want, from your own background, can you talk about that? Is that possible? Are those some of the things that maybe people should start looking into, because we're going to have the Boyka administration for another 6 years?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ben. That's a very good question. It's actually one of the questions that I was hoping to address, because as you can see already in the last 2 weeks, I've been reading online, and also Mr. Prince Johnson made a statement that he's not going to be persecuted, that he's exempt from being persecuted. In the first place, he said all warlords and perpetrators or alleged perpetrators were granted amnesty.
Yeah, amnesty.
Immunity. And then he's also saying that the ICC cannot persecute him or all of that. But he didn't put it within proper context. So people just took it and ran with it that Prince Johnson and other who find themselves in his shoes will not be persecuted. Here's what's happening. One, Prince Johnson and the rest of them named in the TRC report will not be persecuted or cannot be sent to The Hague, to the ICC, is because at the time, the crimes that took place, the war crimes, crimes against humanity, massacre and all of that took place in the Liberian War happened during the 90s, the early and mid 90s, right? And the ICC at the time, Liberia had just signed the ICC Accord only in 1998, after all of these things had happened. And she did not rectify, you can sign a document, but you rectify. Rectifying means that you put it into law and the ICC recognize it. So Liberia becomes a legal member of the ICC. That didn't happen until, I think, 2004.
Yeah.
September 2004. Yeah. So Liberia signed this document in 1998. It wasn't ratified until 2004. That is the ICC statute. So meaning that crimes that were committed that we are looking at, especially that are featured in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's final report, are those crimes that would not be covered because the document wasn't existing for us. But notwithstanding, Liberia is a signatory and has been a signatory to other international human rights instruments long before the ICC. Okay, like for example, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Declaration of the Rights of the African Child, the Geneva Convention and additional protocols. Those were all human rights human rights statutes that were created years ago that Liberia signed and is a signatory to. So those laws are binding upon Liberians. And then also, there is no statute of limitation for torture as a law. There's no statute of limitation for torture. And all of these people that we listed, people like Prince Johnson and the rest of them, that the TRC listed for having committed torture, acts of different types of tortures against people, they can be persecuted under the torture law. So the only thing that needs to be happening, just because perpetrators will not be going to the Hague, doesn't mean that they cannot be, we cannot have our own war crimes code. So this is where the UN ambassador was saying, and other people have been saying, all of us have been saying, that it's left with the president now and the Liberian government and also the people of Liberia. The president can write the United Nations and, telling the United Nations that he's ready, or the country is ready to bring the war crimes code, to please come and help set up the war crimes code. So people don't have to go to the Hague first. The ICC doesn't even have to be involved. So the United Nations would then work along with the government and civil society organizations to establish that war crimes code. That is, if the president, will have the political goodwill to do that. Because one of the reasons that the recommendations have not been implemented, especially the war crimes code, is because there's also been a lack of political goodwill to have it done. Everything is politicized. And then also there's something called universal jurisdiction. And right now is all those guys who committed crimes in Liberia, who are being arrested now outside of Liberia, basically in Europe and the United States. They fall now under this universal jurisdiction caveat, meaning that under the universal jurisdiction statute, they recognize that crimes, especially war crimes, crimes against humanity, torture, genocide, it doesn't matter where these crimes were committed. It doesn't matter who committed these crimes. So if Prince Johnson steps out of Liberia now and go to certain places, even certain places in Africa, and if the government of Liberia was accountability friendly, they can work through Interpol and other countries, mechanism. They can have him arrested and he can be tried in that particular country. So the principle of universal jurisdiction also can hold them accountable. This is why right now there have been 9 persons, 9 perpetrators who committed heinous acts in Liberia who are being prosecuted. I think 4 of them have been prosecuted already under the same clause, and the other 3, the prosecution, process is taking place. I'm supposed to be going to France in March. I was there last year for one of the trials, so I'm supposed to be going in March next year again for the same thing for the other trial. So the universal jurisdiction can grab them, and then also the Liberia itself, with the assistance of the United Nations, can establish the war crimes code in Liberia, and they can decide. Maybe they can say, well, we don't have the kind of infrastructure, or we don't have, the kind of manpower whatsoever to do it there. They can ask to say, well, maybe we can have it done in Sierra Leone. Maybe the Liberian war crimes code can happen in Sierra Leone, because Sierra Leone has been through that and she got the infrastructure already and she have the experience. Or it can happen in Arusha, Tanzania. Don't forget the war crimes code for Rwanda happens in Arusha, Tanzania. It can even happen in Senegal. It can even happen in Ghana. Or it can even happen right there in Liberia. Liberians can say, what, we will use our court space that we have, we'll use our judicial system, and we'll bring the war crimes code. So there is no escape for Prince Johnson and the rest of them passing around talking about, they exempt, they can be prosecuted. It's all.
So I have one brief 30 seconds thing. So President, we are on her way out, right? What if President Ria decides to write the United Nations tomorrow? Would it be legally binding on Joe Boyka?
It will be, because until January 22nd, President George Manuel Weah is still the president of the Republic of Liberia.
So I want to repeat. I want to ask this question again. So if President Weah decides tomorrow that he's going to write the United Nations Secretary General to request its assistance in setting up a war crimes code as one of his last actions, right? As president,
as his gift to Liberia, maybe.
Right, like you said, his gift to Liberia. Will Joe Boyka be legally binding? Would it be legally binding on him?
He will be, because George Weah is still president of the Republic of Liberia. He still has that respect. He is still signing documents. He is still doing things as a president. Just last week, he represented Liberia, outside. So yes, until that gavel is turned over, George Nyenwolo is still the legal president of the Republic of Liberia, and he can still act legally on behalf of the Republic of Liberia. But Ben, it's so crazy. You're such a smart young person. I've already made that request. I already made that request.
That's why I asked, because I'm like, maybe
I already made that request.
Maybe we
I
should put
already
it in
made
the
that
air.
request. Movement, the elections.
Keff smiling like crazy now.
I know.
The president conceded. Again, by the way, let me congratulate President We Are here, because my brother Tomalin, they don't understand where I'm coming from. When We Are came in, I was critical.
But Tommy supported Joe. We are second time, so don't worry about that.
But I know the main history with We Are and the CDC, but that's not what we have. You see, but like you said, it's a small country. We're not going to blackmail, black people or stigmatize people. I mean, when they disagree today, we can have, some disagreement, but our fundamental issue here must be the law for Liberia. We are all Liberians. And I always tell people, even though some of us always find ourselves on the other side of the divide, but I do not think that I love Liberia more than any of you on this platform. We must recognize that. And we must respect each other where we are in terms of our own perspective. But for me, my problem is if you do not share those fundamental human rights values, like for example, you do not want the war crimes code, you have the right not to want the war crimes code, but then you have no right to try to block me, to stigmatize me, to cuss me on Facebook, or to stop me for advocating for it. You getting my point? That's where I am. So, movement president, we are considered. And by the way, I thought it was one of the most significant and magnificent gesture that has happened in the Republic of Liberia. This is the first time, probably in the whole world, especially in Africa, where a young president, where, as you all know, Boyka doesn't really have the mandate of the Liberian people.
20,000 votes. Yeah.
He doesn't have the mandate of the Liberian people. It's split in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It is split in the middle. So to see because We Are could have still taken the presidency if he wanted to. It's happening all over the place. So to see We Are concede ahead of even the formal, or announcement of anything, whether you like George We Are or not, no matter your perception of George We Are or not, you have to give him that due deference. You have to give him that respect and recognize it, because you know what, he probably avoided or huge violence or another civil war.
Of course.
So this is where I have been critical of We Are, but this particular move that he made, he got my respect. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's okay. Maybe that PYJ calling you though.
PYJ trying to talk to you and
distract you.
My car was involved in an accident today.
Oh wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just turning it off. Okay. Leroy? That's good. Please take my phone and turn it off, please. So
tell Preacher to call Tomalin. He could call.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that in case if we got into the heat of the discussion, and I didn't use this opportunity to really congratulate President We Are and to thank him and his team. It is unprecedented. And I think what he's done is he's raised the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He's raised the bar for political acceptance. You understand? And for protection of our democracy, because we could have had President We Are today, right now, president-elect, and going into his second term. But he said, you know what? I see trouble coming. So I'm a young person. I had 6 years. I did what I thought I could. Maybe I didn't do everything right. Everybody's not happy with me. Some people happy with me. But you know what? I will bow out gracefully. Yeah. And still, people think that they need to be bashing him on Facebook. People still want to be cussing him and carry on. They are the ones now who I'm hitting on them. I'm like, listen, if this man who you hated for 6 years, who he do the all the kind, if he, made this kind of move, this boy, I'm sorry, the president is not a boy. No. But actually, what he's done is he's actually exiting public office as a world-class athlete, as a star. George We Are has become a star again on his way out. And we need to recognize that. I don't care. Let them cost me tomorrow. I will respond to them. But I just wanted to say that. So movement, George We Are conceded. I started writing. And I wrote straight. I'm like, XYZ, please tell Mr. President congratulations for the move he made. But please tell him this is what he can do right now. He can leave this as a gift to the Liberian people. And I was just at that. I sent that request in already.
Thank you. Let's bring in St. Tomalin George.
Yeah, just keep Kev for last because Kev just shaking
No,
his
no,
head. He
Kev
agreeing
did
with
not
everything.
Kev did
Yeah.
not even pose a question today. He
He's
just
in love.
enjoying
He's in. I mean, it's the whole interview now. He can't
Well,
ask no reply question.
It's good to see you, Madam Washington. Like Ben said, I want to thank you for your service to the country. You still remain a great asset to this country for I know you, for, like I said, longer than anybody on this platform, and what you bring to the national discourse a lot, especially in your career area of expertise in your career. And my question would be first, I'm going to ask about this TRC. What was the reason that Kafuma Kone and Per Bramble refused to sign the TRC final report?
Okay, thank you, Tomalin. That's a very good question. And first, the TRC has an act. This is copy of the TRC Act. It's an original copy. You see, it's a small document, but it's powerful. So the TRC Act was legislated by the Transitional Legislative Assembly at the time. And interestingly, former warlord, I call him when he was alive, I used to call him the butcher of Monrovia, George Dwyer, was speaker at the time when they legislated the TRC Act. And I don't know what they were thinking, but they gave the TRC a lot of powers here. Maybe they predicted nothing was going to happen. And the TRC Act says that 9 Liberians from diverse background, ages, education, experience will come on the TRC. And the TRC Act says the way we will make decision is first, we will try to reach consensus, meaning that all of us, it would be good if we can agree on something. However, if we can agree on something because it's a human process and because it's a democratic process, and you have 9 people from diverse background thinking and whatsoever, it says if we cannot reach consensus, then we must vote and at least have 2/3. So people like to make a big issue of 2 TRC commissioners descending. It is perfectly normal in any democratic process, even in the parliament. In the parliament, you have legislators, you have senators who don't agree. Some of them.
Supreme Court.
Yes, Supreme Court. I watched something on the British Parliament the other day. The guy slide across the decks and grab his friend tie and all that kind of stuff. These things happen every day. This is why people are diverse and whatsoever. But at the end of the day, the interest of the greater good must prevail. So it is perfectly normal in the TRC process that commissioners disagree. Not every commissioner agree on everything. But what was important is that as per the TRC Act, where it says at least 2/3, we did get everyone. So when we started off, we were 9 commissioners. It was Bishop Arthur Kula, Sheikh Afuma Konen, Commissioner Paul Brambu, June Vardia, Dodope, John Stewart, Umusila, and Massa Washington. And so out of the 9, Bishop Kula later on resigned because don't forget, Bishop Kula had served the Methodist Church and the Methodist, Archdiocese forever and ever. He was actually in Sierra Leone in retirement there with the Methodist conference when he was called to serve. And so when we started the work, after a while, Bishop Kula thought that, it was too fast-paced for him. He made whatever contribution he could. And he, respectfully resigned. So when Bishop Kula resigned, he was never replaced. Don't forget, it was also a short-term commission. So it was not a long-term where, you're going to be, people resign, you place them. So it was just short-term. Initially, we should have operated for only 3 years. I don't know how they kind of figured that volume of work, 3 years was sufficient, but we got a 2 extension and we actually ended up 4.5 years for the final report and everything. So when Bishop Kula resigned, we were left with only 8 commissioners. And out of the 8 commissioners, the 2 commissioners rescinded the final report and 6 commissioners signed the report. So the report is completely binding, it's completely legitimate. It's happening. Even the South African TRC, everybody likes to make reference to the South African TRC because it was the first TRC. And then also South Africa is a big country, it's an important country, and they had the resources. But even on the South African TRC, commissioners descended. And you have commissioners who actually wrote a minority report.
I remember that.
Commissioners descended, so all of them didn't sign the final report. I think it was 3 of them who rescinded, and they wrote a minority report. But our 2 commissioners who said they didn't agree with certain things that we did, and so they didn't want to sign the report. We asked them, because that was the process, the legal process. We asked them to please do their dissenting report, so that y'all would be able to see why they were dissenting, but they didn't have time to do that. So
Okay.
that's why we have just one report. So it was perfectly normal, the process of commissioners not agreeing on everything.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. At least now, understood that by then not signing the report is still binding, was still valid. My second question is, I know recently you came up with a post on the giving the what's a caveat to the new government. You were trying to what's the story behind that post?
I've written a lot of posts. You will have to specifically
I
say
think-
which one.
the post, I think you were cautioning them about doing business as usual. I think something like that. Yeah,
Oh, okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, when people love controversy. Actually, the post I wrote was that I spoke about transparency
okay, yes,
in
yeah.
a report. And I wrote that report against the backdrop of all this thing that was going on. Where was the president elect? And I thought the way it was handled was a little bit tacky, because the president elect right now is an important person. Is an important person. He's just few weeks away from being inaugurated, president of Liberia. And if the president, Liberians need to know what's happening with the president, because now he belongs to us. He's a public figure. So even though certain aspect of his life may be protected, like, for example, his deep medical records, but even with that, if people want to ask questions about the president and their president medical record, it is within their right to ask those questions. Those of us who live, abroad and in the West, we see it happening every day. In fact, the American people hounded Donald Trump so much, to the extent where he had to go and get a physical exam from his doctor and actually make it public, send it to the media and stuff. Now they're on Joe Biden. The same thing Joe Biden is going to get now, a cognitive test. So you see, I guess it's because our people are so used to this, to this thing where so say one, so say all. So it's difficult for them to recognize that it's a new day. This is a new generation of Liberians who want things done differently. So when we didn't know where the vice president was, we didn't know what was happening to him. We heard that he had come to the States. Well, did he come? Did he not come? And then one minute we heard that he was not well. He was in the hospital. Well, was he in the hospital? Was he not in the hospital? And then during that time, there seemed to be all this secrecy and all this thing going on in his camp. And I think what it did was it created room for conspiracies and conspiracy theorists. And that's why I wrote the post and said, look, if you are not going to be transparent from the very beginning, then it's going to be a problem. You are setting yourself up to fail, because if you're not going to be transparent, even right now, at this initial moment, what is your presidency going to look like? Will you be telling us the truth? Will you be keeping us in the dark? Are we going to be always grasping for air? Or, are we going to be blindfolded? Because the president-elect, or anybody for that matter, any of us, but the president-elect, he had the right to travel after all that, contentious election. His team could have just come out and say, the president-elect, Honorable former Vice President Borka travel. He's with his family in the United States. He's resting. They could have even just done a simple release and say he's doing a medical checkup. It happens all the time. Nothing wrong with it. But then when you don't do that, and you create room for conspiracy theorists, and then when people start to talk about it, which is their right to do, then your people come out and attacking them in the most horrible and vicious way. Right now, I got people who not speaking to me, people who were my very good friends and stuff, not speaking to me since Borka won the elections and all of that. So that's not a good way to start this country. When you're talking about reconciliation, Ambassador Borka said he's going to be president for all Liberia, and I appreciate that he stated that, and then he also wrote that in a letter of, a semi-press release. So if you're going to be president of all Liberia, then you need to impress upon your people that they need to treat us respectfully. So because whether we voted for Ambassador Boyka or not, we are Liberians. We have a stake in what happens in our country, and we're just asking to be respected. And the way you respect your people is that you let them know what's going on. You don't have to give them any detailed thing. Now, I will tell you straight. I work in the United States as a social worker, as a program director. I run a whole, program. I did it for years and years. I know what confidentiality is. We got something in this country called HIPAA. You protect people medical records and so. But when you are the incoming president of the Republic of Liberia, you at least owe us a level of explanation. And when I saw all that thing going on, it's like a Get Smart movie. You got to be guessing, you got to be thinking. It was just completely crazy. And I thought it was dysfunctional, and then ended up being toxic. And then next thing you know, when people made so much noise about where the vice president, the president-elect what's happening with her health and stuff, then people started taking these pictures that look like Kojak when we were kids. I don't know if some of you remember in the 70s, they had this big guy who was an agent, Kojak. He used to dress just like that. And, all of a sudden, Kojak got this hat, he looked at Sherlock Holmes, and then the president is standing up. The president-elect is standing up to some place, like he making, I'm like, just stop this thing here. It's unfair to the vice president-elect. So this is when I wrote and said, he needs a rebranding, he needs a remarketing, and he needs to put people around him who would be media savvy and who would know what they're doing, because honestly, it didn't start all right. But, we will give him a chance, because he just started with giving a chance, but already I gave them 0 for the way they handled this whole issue of where was the president-elect these past 2 weeks.
Thank you. The fearless Master Washington.
Thank you.
Wow.
That was a great one. Let's bring in Dr. Peabody, then we will go Keff Hassan, and then my brother. Well, Kasta, welcome to the show, brother. Dr. Peabody, go ahead.
Commissioner Washington, it's great to see you, and thank you for the great information that you are providing here today. But I want to ask you a question about your former chairman, Councilor Verdi. I've seen him appear a lot on the Capitol Hill, giving statement on other people that have been accused. But my concern is that he has been writing story and accusing people of committing crimes, murder, without any evidence. What is your take on that? Especially there was an incident with Gloria Musu's car where he blanketly accused some folks being involved without even evidence and stuff like that. And there was another issue where he was involved. I believe he was taped discussing on how he would put together political asylum stories to help people and all of that. That speaks to the credibility of him, and how can anybody trust that the report that he came up from the TRC was not full with some biases and other stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you, Herman Peabody. What an interesting and loaded question. I didn't think I would be here discussing any of my colleagues. I don't usually do that. Usually when these kinds of sensitive issues with my colleagues, I would deal with them behind closed door. That's how I was brought up. But I'm glad you asked the question, and we will provide whatever clarification we can. First, I would like for the Liberian people to know that the work of the TRC has been over since 2009, since June 2009. And immediately when our work was over and we presented our final report, we became private citizens. So all of what we're doing here now is only because we are Liberians. We want the best for Liberia. And this is like a public service. Nobody paying us. Nobody ever pay us after the TRC. In fact, the people are still owing us some benefits and stuff from the TRC that we didn't get. So I'm making the point to say that each and every commissioner is responsible for his or her own actions. While I completely and fundamentally agree with you that our actions, because we did that important work and the Liberian people's interest is vested in what we did, so it behooves us to behave in a way that doesn't bring to disrepute our own integrity, but also the integrity of the work that we did. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I first would like to lay the premise that TRC commissioners are private individuals. We can join political parties, we can do whatever we want or whatsoever, as long as we're not using the TRC report to do this. Now, this is where I come in. So Brother can go to State Department. He has friends there. All of us have friends at State Department. I have a meeting coming up in the next 2 weeks and whatnot. So we all have friends all over the place. But some of us, the way we learn public service mature and respectful of everybody. Now, when we work on the TRC, we presented our report, and in our report, we made some lists. We have several different type of lists of people who we thought were liable for different reasons. Like we had the sanction list, we have the prosecution listing, the economic crime listing, the individuals who were recommending for further investigation, all of that. It's already in the TRC. So our work is over. So nobody, not me, not any other commissioner, can put anybody else on their TRC. The work is done, the report is out. So all of what this former chairman of the TRC is doing is of his own volition or whatsoever. All of us are doing, advocating for the report of our own volition. Now, the issue you raised about him making statements and things that came out that wasn't exactly right, wasn't what it seemed or what he has said, I think it will speak to the individual himself. We don't know what his agenda is. We don't know why he's doing what he's doing. But I will tell you what the rest of us are doing. What the rest of us are not doing is to misrepresent other people, to spread false and damaging information against other people. We do not have the right to do that. We are not people's police to do that. We are not the government to do that. And we want to be careful how you witch hunt other people after your work is done. Because when we work on the TRC, it was a huge project. We had the statement takers who went out in the community and took statements from people who said what happened to them, their families, or whatsoever. Then when they brought the statement, they took it, they passed it on to the coders who coded the statement, and then the coders passed it on to the investigators. The investigators went out into the communities to verify what this person said. For example, if a statement giver said, I used to live Chubo Oro, and I was there with so and so fighting force of person came from this faction and they killed me, my whole family. The investigators are going out there to find out, did this person really live Oro? Did they live Chubo? Does any of the neighbors remember them, recognize them? So, that's how you gather authentic information. Now, outside of that level of authenticating your information, none of us really have that support like that to be able to really gather information and do robust investigation to verify this information. So anybody else who is doing stuff, we don't know how people getting the information, but I will tell you straight. There was a situation with Jefferson Koji, and I'm bringing it because the situation that Tomalin talked about that I was upset with him about, it came in. There was a situation with Jefferson Koji where the chairman of the TRC had accused Jefferson Koji of being a child soldier and also being one of those who was with Chucky Taylor. It was shocking because we work on the TRC robustly, intensely. Nobody on the TRC came and testified that Jefferson Koji was a child soldier, he was hanging with Chucky Taylor, or he was hurting people. We never heard it. We didn't hear from any perpetrator, from any of the victims, not even us. Some of us lived in Liberia during the war. As you all know, that I was actively reporting as a journalist in the war, going all through warring faction territory. I never heard about this thing before. So when it happened, we were concerned. So we reached out to our colleague to say, hey, what's going on here? And maybe you got some information later on. People brought you that we don't know. So let us know this, because people were calling us so that we will be able to, support what you're trying to do. We didn't get that support. So what commissioners did was, because we were worried that the speed with which this Jefferson Koji thing was going, and we didn't have any information, we didn't know nothing about it. We were worried that if our international friends had decided to go and investigate this and they found no iota of truth surrounding it, we were worried that our credibility was going to take a ding because of one of us. And so I think you guys know, commissioners got together and we wrote a release. And the release was very respectful. We told ourselves we're going to distance from him because we had spoken to him a couple of times and asked him to please work with us so we can know what's going on. And it was just not happening. And people calling us all over the place. Internationals were also calling us to verify all this information because the thing was, this is a city, a sitting city mayor, and this young man was active in student, politics and everything. So how did you guys miss him? What happened here? And so we issue our release and just said, it was a very polite release, and we said we don't know where this other information is coming from. But when we did our work, nothing like that came to us. Maybe our colleague is getting some information that we don't know about, so we just wanted to distance from it. Maybe in the future he will be able to provide that information that will verify, authenticate the accusation against Koji. So we did write that statement and we put it out in the media, and that was it. And he got upset and whatsoever. Next thing you know, it was so crazy because my grand aunt had passed away. I'm Koda from Bomi County, right? So my grand aunt had passed away. My father was the head of our family. So my dad passed away. And when your parents pass away, you want to continue the legacy. So my grand aunt had passed away in Bomi County, and she was Muslim. So they buried her in keeping with the Muslim tradition. But then for her 90-day feast, I went to Liberia to attend the 90-day feast. And right after I left our village, I went to my father's grave in Clay District. I was at the grave with my sister and other people cleaning my dad's grave. And then my sister started looking at her food, and then she saw all the things. She said, Sister Massa, sit down. I said, what happened? She said, oh my God, Uncle so is accusing your other commissioners of meeting with George Weah, and he said George Weah gave you money. I said, who talking that crap? I said, Liberian people can lie too much. She said, and when I looked, it was shocking. I'm like, wow, what's going on here? So I sat down and I only told my sisters and my siblings, I said, y'all pray for me. And they held my hands and we prayed at my father's grave. That stupid news broke. And I was so upset. By the time I came back to the States, all the kind of stuff. But commissioners, we decided we're not going to battle it out in the open because we had to protect our work. We couldn't let the Liberian people down. So, we really didn't make a lot of issue out of it because it would have been so distasteful, all of us thought, to have commissioners, especially battling each other. So I don't know what our colleagues didn't think about the ramification we have on this work that we've done for the Liberian people. So, we took it all, we swallowed it. But as time went on, we were vindicated. So this is why when my longtime friend and brother, Tomalin George, who I love, and Tomalin, next time I see you, we'll go for a drink. This is why when Tomalin George went to Liberia just recently, following this whole election thing, when I heard he was there and I saw that he was meeting with Weah, I got so furious because when all that Verda thing was going on, Tomalin George made a comment when somebody said, oh, Master Washington, then I compromised and said they take money from Weah. He came and said, I'd rather believe Verda any day. I'm like, wow, Tomalin, really? So you don't know me anymore? You don't know who I am? And it hurt me because someone like Tomalin knows me. Tomalin knows me. He knows what I stand for. Tomalin been knowing me from the 80s, early 80s. So, okay.
Alain Francais.
Don't leave man, Asia, leave it.
Yeah, so this is why when Tomalin was in Liberia recently in the last 2 weeks or so, there with the president, when I saw him with Weah, I got so upset. I said, wow. So your people then lie on us that we met with the president, he gave us money. Okay? And it was a sin, even though it never happened. But then you told Tomalin George you can go and meet with the same Weah. Really? Something wrong with you. So I wrote on my post and I took issue with Tomalin. I said, Tomalin, do me a favor. Since you're there with President Weah now, please put on your investigative cap. Okay? As a social media journalist, please find out from him whether he has met commissioners and whether this thing happened. But Tomalin, I must thank you, though. You could have come out and battle it with me, but you did not because you're the gentleman I know you to be. But things happen. But what I know about the Liberian people is that you and them can be close today. You can be what today. If something happened and you disagree with them fundamentally, they will do anything on you. And we know very well the Liberian people are sensitive about that money business. And when they hit somebody, so all of them were hitting on Weah. So all somebody had to do was just to drop the thing and say, oh, TRC commissioners met with George Weah, he gave them money. That was it. But it was wrong. But Dr. Peabody, it just go to say again what you said, to provide some of the clarification. Every commissioner at this time. We have our commissioner chat room. We do talk with each other sometimes. We hang here, but technically we are private citizens, and everybody will be responsible for their own action. And if any of my colleagues are doing anything crazy out there that will compromise them and then by extension us and the work we've done, we will reach up, because that's what we do. We will reach up privately and try to talk to them. If the person feel whatever they want to continue, we will not hesitate to publicly distance ourselves. Because if we had not distanced ourselves from that Jefferson Koji something, we would have been completely discredited today. Because it later on came out to Koji had nothing to do as being a child soldier, nothing at all. This kid was born 1986. When I was reporting as a journalist, I never saw a 4-year-old child soldier. I never saw a 3-year-old child soldier. If Koji was born 86, 1990, he would have been what? 3 years old? I never saw a child soldier 3 or 5 years old. Never. And I reported MPFF territory, Ulimbo. I was all over the place. So it was good that we didn't decide to, just side with one of our colleagues because he's one of us, but we stood our ground and we said, no, we don't know where this is coming from. It's not right. We're not going to be a part of it. Today, we were vindicated.
Thank you.
Okay, because of time, I will not ask the second question. I'll let the other guy go ahead because I think let the other guys go ahead.
Thank you, Derek.
Okay. Madam Washington, welcome on the closing argument. But let me ask you this. Given the proximity with PYJ to the president-elect, and matter of fact, he named the vice president at his peak, do you think that the president-elect will support the War Crime Court?
No, Kev, I don't think it will happen. It's like I said, I think I said that, but just very briefly before you came on the show. Based upon the history, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not implement it because she was named in the report. President Weah, who wasn't named in the report, didn't implement it, but because he had a relationship to Prince Johnson. And I think one of the reasons Ellen didn't implement it was because she had a relationship to Prince Johnson as well. And we understand that in forming those relationships with Prince Johnson, there were a lot of backdoor negotiation and agreement going on and whatsoever. So I do not think that Ambassador Boycott will implement the War Crimes Code. I do not think so. But he has said that he will, and we will be looking forward to it. If it happens, it will be a miraculous day. I will issue a press statement and tell him thank you, but I don't think it will happen because of the same thing. One, in fact, the situation with this partnership with President-elect Boycott and Prince Johnson is even more dire than the relation Prince Johnson had with Ellen and the relationship Prince Johnson had with George Weah. The reason is because Ben alluded to it earlier, that Prince Johnson, with Ellen and Weah, he was just a friend, a partner. Even though he was strategic and important, but he was not like a factor like that. But now, Prince Johnson's ticket, his MRG, right? MDR, MRG, his MDR, his ticket is the number 2 ticket in this coalition. And the chairperson or whoever this guy's position was, he is now the vice president-elect. And guess what? He is not a member of the Unity Party. This guy, the vice president-elect, is a member of Prince Johnson's party. Prince Johnson is his benefactor. Prince Johnson is his mentor. So look at that relationship as well. Okay? Prince Johnson is Jeremiah Cohn's mentor. So everybody, excuse me, guys, everybody is going to be screwed here at the end of the day. The Liberian people, because I don't think Boycott will bring the War Crimes Code. I don't think they're going to do it for Prince Johnson to throw him under the bus. Jeremiah Cohn will not do it. 2, even the Unity Party, after all the hard work for 6 years, they worked so hard to get this presidency. But then they went and chose Prince Johnson Party. God forbid, again, please, nobody write headline tomorrow and say, oh, Master Washington said Joseph Boycott will die. That's not what I'm saying. But this is a human world, and we make room for human frailties. He's an elderly statesperson. He has medical concerns like all of us. Okay, even though people, some of us own whatsoever. God forbid, we have to start fasting and going to Aladura Church and praying that nothing happens to Joseph Boyka for the next 6 years. Because anything happens to him, we're going to wake up one morning and the political party of most notorious warlord Prince Johnson, a hyena, I describe Prince Johnson as a hyena, is going to be the ruling party. The United Party will not be the ruling party. It's going to be Prince Johnson party that's going to be the ruling party. And from the way he shows himself politically, Prince Johnson will screw the United Party up, and they will get what they deserve, because it was such poor, extremely poor decision to go with Prince Johnson party as the number two, and that's where someone like me is sitting on the fence. When I say sitting on the fence, I'm a bit uneasy, because it's like a horrible movie, and you're watching to see, what the next scene, in this movie will bring. Honestly, in selecting Prince Johnson ticket as the number two, in selecting his party as the number two party on the ticket, President-elect Boyka has actually caused anxiety for us, and this could be a potential constitutional crisis, constitutional issue. 'Cause I'm telling you, we could go to bed one night and wake up one morning and we have President Jeremiah Cohn and the political party of Prince Johnson, and Prince Johnson would be behind the scene as the de facto prime minister pulling the shots. And guess what? Prince Johnson would have won the long game, because he's playing this long game. At this point in time of our existence 33 years after the war, why are we still dealing with the issue of warlords, even major warlords, not even miscellaneous perpetrators, but major warlords? 33 years after our crisis, why are we still confronted with the issue of major warlords? Why have they not gone away? Because we have not played the politics right. This politics of appeasement, politicians. I went to several of the peace conferences. I went to the 2 Accra peace conferences. I went to one of the Abuja, and I went to one of the Akusumo peace conference. And you could see our politicians behind the scene, talking to warlords, crossing Jesus, and so it's just crazy. So we should change ourselves. Today, Prince Johnson is more emboldened than before, and because of that, you see what he's doing all over the place now. Prince Johnson is a man. He's off the chains anyway, but he's talking more. He's beating his chest more because he's emboldened now. You know what it means for Prince Johnson party to be the number 2 on the ticket? You know what it means for Prince Johnson party to be the vice presidential party? God forbid, Prince Johnson party could end up being the ruling party of the Republic of Liberia. So how people don't think something is wrong with this? And when someone like me talk, they go on Facebook, they cut, they carry. I got a whole lot of friends not speaking to me. I don't care. Y'all keep your speech, y'all keep your speech, because at the end of the day, when this thing get backfire, it is not my nature to say I told you so, but all of us will be in a mess. All of us will be in a mess. Sierra Leone has done exceptionally well in trying to regularize the politics in the governance system. I don't know of any major warlord who is not a key player in the Sierra Leone government. Rwanda, same thing, all over the place. South Sudan is trying to establish their own thing. And then 33 years after our war ended, we having this conversation about Prince Johnson being that de facto prime minister. Prince Johnson can go to his church and call my name all the time. That is why I'm calling his name. I'm bleeding on him on your show. Prince Johnson goes to his church, call my name all the time. Call other commissioners' name, insult us, carry on. Just the last week, he was on Sekou Khan, this guy from SKTV. He was on Sekou Khan and threatening Sekou. So any warlord who takes his microphone, whether he's standing on the pulpit or not, and start talking and call your name, is a threat. Your life is in danger. And people, when you talk to some of our friends who made a decision, all of a sudden you can't say anything about President-elect Boyka and the collaboration anymore because they are sensitive to it. All of us, people who did not think that Prince Johnson needed to be anywhere near our governance structure, today they don't speak to some of us because now, you cannot talk about Joseph Boycott as president-elect and not talk about his major partner, Prince Johnson. How did we get to this point? And then Prince Johnson being a bigot, a tribal bigot, and a narcissist, he's passing around with the tribal cards. Because that's what he did immediately after the war. A lot of the major perpetrators in warlord fell on the ethnic communities. Okay? Oh, I saved Nimba County. Saved Nimba County where? I was there as a young journalist in the war. Prince Johnson did not even spend good 3 months in Nimba County. He fell out with Taylor. He passed through by way of Bone Mines or Johnsonville, and he ended up to Caldwell Base. And everywhere he left a bloody trail. He left a bloody trail, all the places he passed. Okay, when people came from Bone Mines and gave their testimony and stuff to the TRFC, we interviewed some of those people. They cried on Prince Johnson, he committed massacre, leaving Nimba County and going. So the first 3 months of the war, Prince Johnson left and sat on Caldwell Base. All the killing that he did, basically, was right on Caldwell Base. He was not up there fighting no war with nobody. So how did he liberate Nimba County? That he's taking this thing and running with it. And intelligent people can't seem to be able to decipher what has happened here. So Prince Johnson has manipulated our culture, our tribal and cultural divide. Okay, he's entrenched himself, and now he's more entrenched. And guess what? Prince Johnson will suck it to us, the Liberian people.
Okay, my second question, quick. You said you were going. By the way, the entire Nimba and other places listen to you right now, because on Monday's show, Prince Johnson will listen to the show and he called in, so he probably may call in soon. But let me say this. You say you're going up the hill sometime next week to the US.
No, I say probably in the next 2 weeks.
Next 2 weeks, after Christmas.
After the holiday.
The holiday. Will you talk to the people about this Prince Johnson proximity to the presidency and how it will destroy our nation? Will you speak to folks up the hill?
Kev, call me after the show.
Okay.
But the kind of person I am, I try to be modest. We talk quietly, and you work quietly behind the scene and you pray for fruitful results. You don't pass all over the place and carry on, because you also
Kevin will be my best friend. Kevin.
I know, right? Guys, due to time constraint, we'll try to at least cut our questions down, hopefully to one, depending on the time. I know since Masa, we spoke about the time issue with you, but
but since Masa, you got to stay small with us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We can't release you just now.
Right.
If Tomalin promised to pay for that dinner.
Oh, I will. Man. I will.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead, Robert.
Thank you. Ms. Washington, welcome to the closing argument, and thanks for being on. I personally don't know you. I've read a few of your posts, but I don't know you, and I've heard about your work. And I did some due diligence when I heard you were coming on, and I think we have something in common. I heard that you arrived in Atlanta, March of 1997, and I live in Atlanta since I was 14 years old, and this is home away from home, and so I think we got that kind of connection. And I heard that you got some families out here too in Atlanta before you transition over to Pennsylvania. So so welcome. But you said something about Prince Johnson dominance. And before I asked you that question, let me ask you this question. You published an article with the airlines, attacks against the global justice is GJRP, Hassan ability are coordinated, purposeful, and should be condensed. And that article was basically an allegation made against Agnes Taylor. And just to summarize, she took you to court, and there was a judgment made by Court B in our country where you was ordered to pay $1.5 million in damages. I have not heard you speak publicly to that. I want to give you the opportunity to.
Sure. Thank you very much. And again, I will try to explain that, but I'm not going to go in depth because our appeal to that ruling is before the Supreme Court of Liberia, and I would like to respect the court. I wouldn't want to say anything that may be defamatory towards the court, so I will not go in depth. Yes, I wrote an article, and in the article, I stated some things which, of course, were factual, but we're journalists and we use synonyms. Like some people that say words are meant to be used, even though I don't go vocal, but hey, I play with words. And one of the things cited in her lawsuit against me was that I erroneously referred to her as mother of the revolution, of the MPFA revolution, which I did, because when she left the United Kingdom, and again I would say, she said, because in that article I also said that she left the United Kingdom under a duress, meaning that after she was jailed for some time and her case was thrown out, what people need to understand is that the case was not thrown out because they went to full trial and she was vindicated. It's because the case did not even go to trial. The judge has said at the time where the particular offense took place, they were not sure which group had a jurisdiction, whether it was the MPFA or another group. So because of that, he was not going to go into the case. He was not even going to try the case. He was asking the people who were prosecuting Agnes Tiller to go and sort that out, and they can still come back. Meaning that people can still sue Agnes Tiller forever, whatever. It was some girls who sued her alleging. But so at the time also when she came out of prison, she had an option. Of course, she could not live in the United Kingdom anymore. So she either had to go back home to Liberia, or she was facing possible deportation. And I stated that in my article. But she said I lied. But I got this information from the court document in the UK. So I did my research from there, and basically I just took some of that information. But when she arrived in Liberia, she gave her press conference. I think it was at the NPP headquarters or so, and she was warmly and well received by NPP members, and then some, ex-fighter, whatever. They received her warmly. But at that press conference, because I watched the press conference, and at the press conference, the way she spoke and all of that, it didn't sit well with me. And then they had asked her about why she thought that she was so warmly received by everybody, by all the boys and stuff like that, the young, men, the ex-fighters or so. And then she said, it's because during the war, I was good to them. They used to call me like their mom. So when I wrote my article, I referred to her as mother of the MPFL. That's, so that's where she was not happy with it. So if you were nice to these young boys and of these people, and then refer to you as their mom, and then I read my article and I say at the press conference she referred to herself as mother of the NPFL. But but this is what happened. So when she filed her case, I didn't know that she had filed this lawsuit against me. It was somebody from the media, a media colleague in Liberia who runs a paper, who called me, who texted me and said, Mas, what's your take on this? We're going to go to press. I want to, highlight it. Let me know. And I said, take on what? And he said, so you don't know? I said, no, what? And then he said, okay, hang up, I'm calling you right now. So he called me back and I said, are you kidding me? He said, yes, I'm sending it to you right now. So I got to know that I was sued by former Mrs. Taylor via that way, the internet. And so I made a video. It was my first time. I don't do videos. So I made a video for the first time and explain, I'm like, I will avail myself to the rule of law. I respect the courts, and then I can't, and whatnot. Then I call my lawyers. I will not call their name, but I call my lawyers, human rights lawyers, national, international, and I was advised by my national lawyers that, because the question they asked was, have you been served? And I said, no. I said, I just heard this thing yesterday. I have not been served. And they said, listen, until you are served, there are processes for serving you. Until those processes take place and you are served, we don't have a case, because what are we responding to? Okay, so they couldn't respond to anything because I had not been served. I didn't have my document for my lawyers to respond. Then I decided to preempt it, and I sent my contacts on the ground to go to the court to see if I could get a copy of, the documents so that my lawyers could start work. They said they couldn't find, the filing paperwork against me. It was completely crazy. So within that process, I was unable to respond, in due time, in the appropriate time to the court. And so the court ruled against me by extension, meaning that I was not there. So they didn't rule against me because I went to court with them and they found me guilty. They ruled against me in my absence. That's what it was. And you see, that's the first time, I think, in recent Liberian history where the courts were so fast. It was just, when it came to me, everything was just bam, bam, bam. It happened so quickly because you know what, they were looking to get a ruling. And they knew that I live in the United States of America. So you know what, she would not be able to respond to this thing because they didn't give me access to the documents. I couldn't get the documents. I got the documents later after the ruling. Okay. I have an international colleague who is an Australian journalist who called me and wanted to lift the story for the international media. And I explained, I said, I can't get access to my file. And she said, you know what? I'm flying there. I'm going to get your file. And she flew into Liberia, went to the court, and they turned my file over to her. And she emailed everything to me. So if the white woman had not gone, I would probably have gotten it, but longer. So I didn't have access to the file. I couldn't do anything. So I didn't respond on time. So they ruled against me 1.5 million. And now maybe the girls then think that, they got all that money, all the stolen was. So maybe they think some of us got it, but I don't know. But what I did was, once they ruled against me, I had the opportunity to file an appeal. So my lawyers got together and they put together whatsoever, and we filed the appeal. The appeal is now before the Supreme Court, and that's where we are.
Thank you. One last question I want to ask you. This might be my last question for you because the other guy's going to come in. You spoke about the dominance of Prince Johnson and others in our politics. I want to ask you a question in twofold. And then you also talk about the government's ability to have ex-combatants or people who have committed crimes, war crimes in a country, arrested in another country under the universal jurisdiction. Here's my question for you. Do you think that the TRC at the time, for 4 years and a half, missed an important piece when it came to reconciliation, like the South African got right and Rwanda got right, the public education piece, as a result, as it relates to why it was important to hold people who committed these crimes accountable and how that intertwined with reconciliation and the sustainability of peace. And if Liberia has failed to do its own due diligence with regards to the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Code in Liberia, how seriously can the international community and people in other countries take us? If we cannot arrest folks who reside in Liberia in our own country, if we cannot take them to court, if we cannot persecute them, why should outside countries bear that responsibility to do so? And by the way, you and I share the same sentiments when it comes to warlords, when it comes to Prince Johnson. I think he's a killer. I think he's a criminal. And I think people like his kind and others should not have any say so in our political discourse. But we, to some extent, have allowed that. We have entertained that. So do you think that the TRLC missed the public education piece with regards to these people who go out there and vote for these people, knowing their records in Liberia? And why should people under the universal jurisdiction take us seriously, have folks arrested when we have the opportunity to do so in Liberia, but we have failed to do that? Thank you.
Okay, let me be quick to say that I do not think the TRC process was a perfect one. It was not. This was a process, a concept that was new to Liberia. You had basically most of the people running the process were young people, but we have good intention. People need to understand the TRC is not, it's basically a moral integrity institution. So you didn't have to have a PhD in history. You didn't have to have you didn't have to be a medical doctor. You just had to be someone of moral standing in the society and someone that people could vouch for, because it was a vetting process to get commissioners on. We were not appointed by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We were not hired by her. There was a vetting committee comprising of the United Nations represented by the UNDP, the U.S. Embassy had the person there, The EU had a person there. The African Union had a person there. ECOWAS had a person there. Then you had civil society had 2 persons there from Liberia. Liberia Civil Society. Women's group had 1 person. Then you had youth group had 1 person. And then you had, so that's what the vetting process was. And it was an open vetting process. They put out open public bulletin with their requirement as to what they were looking for the people who would be TRC commissioners. So they put it out there in the public. They publish it in every newspaper. It used to be on the radio, even in the vernaculars, asking for Liberians to nominate people who they think will represent. And one of the things was you didn't have to be part of the war. You were not known to have, violated the public trust, meaning that you are not in government, you stole money, and blah, 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 blah. So it went on, the vetting process. Initially, it was more than 200. Then it came down to 100 something. Then it came down to 70 something. And then finally, it came down to 16. At the time, Judith Bryan was president at the time, was interim president for 2 years after they came from the CPA Accra in 2003. So Judith Bryan was president. So by the time they went through all that process, out of respect for the presidency of Liberia, so that it doesn't look there was a foreign process, they sent him the short list of 16 finalists, and all of us were on it. So that short list of the 16 person, it means that any 9 of the 16 person were qualified because we have gone through this extensive vetting process. And it was not because we were lawyers, doctors, PhDs, and blah, 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 blah. We were ordinary Liberians, but who our people has sent our names in because we were supposed to be respectable people. With me, it's because I was popular as a journalist, women rights advocate, and whatsoever. People send my name, students, women, the media, all of that. So I'm making the point to say that we were not perfect. We didn't have all the expertise, but we had good faith, we had the energy, and we were determined to do a good job. And we had, this was our Bible, the act of the TRC. So every time as we discuss our determination whatsoever, when we were not clear, we would say what the TRC Act says, and we'll go back to it. And we also had experts. The United Nations, ECOWAS sent 1 expert, we had 3 experts. The lady who is now, there's a lady now called Henrietta Mensah Bonsu. She's now an associate justice on the Supreme Court in Ghana. She was the United Nations expert. At that time, she was Assistant Secretary General in Liberia. She was on the TRC also. Then we have another international writer, human rights writer. And then we had another person who had worked on the TRC before. They were also on the commission working with us hand as advisors and stuff. The only power they didn't have was voting power because it was not a country. So we had training upon training, went to South Africa, did the training, all that kind of stuff. So it was not a perfect process. Looking back now, are there some things that we could have probably done differently? Yes, but I don't think so fundamentally different. One, for example, we wouldn't have changed the prosecution listing. We would probably have put more people on the list, looking at the issue of impunity and how people just don't give a fig. Okay, so, but this is what happened, and I think what helped to cause some problem with the process as well. The international community, other TRCs like the Sierra Leone TRC, the TRC in Rwanda, because the Rwanda TRC actually took place in Arusha, Tanzania. The TRC was funded completely by the international community, meaning that their administration, people's salary, things that they will use, their car and stuff, everything came from the international community. But with Liberia, when it comes to Liberia, things are always done a little differently. We don't know why. The international community has said they wanted for Liberia to assume some responsibility. So unfortunately, they gave Liberia the responsibility of funding the secretariat. And the secretariat was the salaries, including of commissioners, operational stuff and stuff like that. The international community only funded programs, meaning statement taking, hearings, the database, and those kinds of things. So we always had a work plan because every 3 months, we had to report to our international partners that every 3 months we had to meet with ECOWAS, the UNDP, the US, the British Charge d'Affaires. At that time, British didn't have an embassy and all of that. Every 3 months we had to report to all these people because they were monitoring the process for best practice. And we also had to meet the President, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, to brief her on the process on what was going on. So we had the outreach workout, sensitization, we were all over the place and stuff. But We got into trouble when we started the hearings, because the hearings, we had two sets of hearings. The public hearings, and the hub of our public hearings in Montserrado County, Monrovia, was the Centennial Pavilion on Ashmore and Broad Street. So we had public hearings, and then we had hearings in all the counties, but we had close to hearings. By the time we started the public hearings, and victims and alleged perpetrators and people of interest started coming and started calling names, that's where the TRC process ran into funding trouble. Because when they came and started calling President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf name, some of her family members, some of her colleagues, when they start calling people who were in government, and they called us and they wanted us to shut down the public hearings. I remember at a meeting with President Sirleaf at the mansion, because as President of the Republic of Liberia, it was her responsibility to know about what was happening. And it was our responsibility to brief the president as respect to her office, because her government was funding the secretary. I remember at one point when the hearing started and we had to meet the president to brief her, she told us straight that she wanted the public hearing shut down. She was angry. She was upset. She's like, this is how you're going to do it? You're just going to put people on the stage and they just be calling other people's names? How you know they're not lying on people, and carry on. And I remember me being, the one who I think
Wow.
always say, oh, you got to tell people the truth. So I started saying, Madam President, we can't shut the public hearings down, because TRC has two hearings, public hearing and in-camera hearings. And we do not determine how the hearing goes. We do not determine who comes to the public hearing, who comes to the in-camera hearing, because it is the day for victims and the people to speak, because during the war they were silent, including even alleged perpetrators, because some people, things happen to them. Not everybody who is a perpetrator started off being perpetrator. Some of those people, they killed the entire families, and then they joined people and started fighting. So some people were victims turned perpetrator. So on the statement taking form, once they gave their statement, the statement taker will ask them, would you like to come to the TRC hearing? If the person say yes, they check yes. Then they will ask them, which hearings would you like to be a part of? The public hearing or the private hearing? And if that victim or alleged perpetrator or family member or political actor or whoever, if that person says, I want to come to the public hearing, we are on our obligation to provide them that platform. We cannot tell them, no, you can't come to the public hearings. So the president didn't like the public hearings because people were coming and calling people names, and it was just the TRC every single day was selling newspapers. And I was trying to explain that, no, we got to have public hearings and private hearings. So by the time we left that meeting later on, we started having problems. There was a time where even the building where we were housed, the TRC, we couldn't pay the rent. The landlord wrote us and threatened to evict us. I had to call a press conference because I was a media commissioner. They withheld salaries. They withheld funding to the secretariat. So all the money that we needed to do other things was not coming. So we did the best we could. I mean, we could have done better in some areas, I would, say. But on the overall, based upon the process, what was happening, and then not only the funding, but people were undermining the process. You have people in government undermining their own TRC. People were going behind our backs because according to the TRC process, we had to be transparent. So for example, if Prince Johnson, if we are calling Prince Johnson to testify maybe next week Friday, and he has confirmed that he's coming to testify next week Friday, we have to inform the public that he's coming. So people in government were going to our witnesses and going to family people and stopping them from coming to the hearings. They were telling them not to come because they were afraid that people were calling their names. So those were some of the shenanigans and challenges we faced, and but we did the best we could under the circumstances.
Thank you, Sis Masa. Pedro, welcome to the show. You now have the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone, and in particular to Madam Washington. Thanks for a great show. I didn't plan to come on, but I was very intrigued. You piqued my interest in the things you were talking about. A point you stressed before I came on, which I would like to bring back up because I think is very important, is that it would be a great gift to the Liberian people if outgoing President George Weah, who has absolutely nothing to lose now politically, were to write that letter to the Americans, which, by the way, to the international community. By the way, the Americans have said, Ambassador Van Schack, U.S. Ambassador for Global Justice, came to Liberia in October of last year and said the Americans would finance, um, the effort to bring closure and justice to Liberians for the war crimes that we experience. And I want to say to you, ma'am, one of the reasons why some of us were very concerned and very much afraid about Prince Johnson's potential, which now is a reality, proximity to the presidency during the just an election was just what we're seeing. And your concerns are we shared them. But do you think, are you going to double down on this call that you've made, that President Weah should consider doing this as a gift to the Liberian people and bringing closure to what we've experienced in this country once and for all?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Costard. Good to be engaging you. Actually, I've made my point, and hopefully, I'm hoping that my voice will be heard, because I think it's good for the Liberian people, but it's also good for President Weah because, like I stated earlier, just that move that he made, the concession move he made, it seems like he's turning, he's gifting Liberia something on his way out. And it's a beautiful thing. We should embrace it. So I hope that he will consider, our suggestion to write this letter. And I hope that letter will be one of the talking points that he will leave on President-elect Walker's desk when he comes, and so he can pick it and run with it. But this is my personality. I'm a tough person, but I also like to be respectful. I don't think the president is not a deaf. He's not deaf, and we know he has a lot on his hand with the transition and everything. But in the meantime, we know also that he can pay attention to those things that are germane, that he thinks are important to him. So I've already made that request. I've already sent that word. I've made that request. And I would like to give the president the respect to hopefully leave him to act upon it. But if he, I don't like to, you don't come asking people to do things or suggesting beautiful things to people, and then you try to make it like you must do it now, or hang over the head. It's good to respect people and don't assume that people are stupid and dumb, or they're just wicked, or they offer. Respect for them, make it, and tell the person why it's important and whatsoever. They got the message and leave it with them. Hopefully, he hears it. And I hope he listens to this show, and I hope the boys are listening to this show. Hopefully he can watch it and see, that Massa against you over there, Petro, all these people over there. So hopefully, this forum alone will serve as reinforcement for him to do this, because what better and historical gift he would be leaving the Liberian people than leaving that letter behind with his seal on it and his signature on it. He would be walking away. Okay? If I was him, I would be doing it without even people pushing me and forcing me to do it. So I would leave that situation like that. Hopefully the president will act upon it.
Okay, ma'am, I just want to add this. I will be meeting the president. I spoke with him yesterday. I will be meeting the president in the next few days. And I want to say this to you. I will raise this with him personally. And I will say, even though this idea has bounced around in our minds, but that it was inspired by your contribution on the show tonight. I would make this case for him and tell him the president is very proud of what he did.
He should be
the
very proud.
The decision he made to not try. I mean, it's historic. Which African president loses an election by 20,000 votes and does not try to fight to steal it? So this is something, this could be the icing on his cake. A very historic watershed moment, gift to the Liberia, a parting gift, let's call it that. And I will raise that with him. I assure you I will when I meet the president.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for what you do, and we're very proud. We're very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and let's. I've been informed that the president is actually watching this show right now.
Great.
I was
All right,
just
guys. What? Thank you, guys. What I want to do, hopefully we can hear from the people back home. Open up the phone lines. At least take about 6 or 7
Let's
calls.
do a little polling, please.
But look,
Let's do a little polling, please. It's important.
Okay. What sort of polling you want to do?
Well, to ask if they want the president
Let
to
the
write
people
this
write their
letter.
comments underneath.
Oh, okay. That's
Let-
that's
yeah,
a,
let
That
that's
could be a question we could ask the public. Do they want
good.
the president to write this letter on his way
Right.
out as a
I-
gift to
So
the
we'll open
Liberian
the phone
people?
lines. We'll open
Yeah.
the phone lines here in the diaspora, and we'll open the phone lines back home first. We'll prioritize the folks back home to call in first, and then after we have taken at least about maybe 15 or 20 calls, then we'll open the phone lines for those in the diaspora. So, Henry, if you will please come on, let's take some calls and let the folks speak to this. Would you appreciate if the president were to write this letter asking for the establishment of the World Economic Crimes Court? Let's hear.
First call on the line. Go ahead, caller.
And we can get Henry to come in.
That
too.
caller in Liberia.
Henry Jala.
Liberia. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, for Liberia, Martina Konate Acosta Princess on the show tonight. I want to say a big thanks to NT Massa Washington. You have made my night a pleasant night, Mama. Everything that we've been yearning for, that's why I hear you say tonight on the show. And I want to vote that the president should write that letter and leave it on the desk for the incoming president. For us to push the country forward, we need justice. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, you've been following very closely. It is now time that you form part of the discussion here on the closing argument tonight. So you can place in your call to 0777017 635. Let's get to the line very quickly to take this very first caller. To this caller, we miss that caller. 0777017 635. You can place in your call and form part of the discussion. Hello? Hello? How are you?
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing okay. What's about you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. This is Siliki Koman. I'm calling from the number 2, Maswara Country.
Okay, Sidiki, 1 minute.
I want to add my voice to the voices on the coast national tonight. To talk to President here to put that letter on the desk. Even though Joe Biden is not going to count it, he's not going to do it because they want to protect Ben Johnson. But I'm voting for that to happen because that's the right thing to do. The less of Ben Johnson to pay their crimes against the Liberian people. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So he's saying I voice to the many voices so that President Weah can place a letter on his desk.
Well, but yeah, let's just take many calls.
Hello?
Yeah, let's just take many.
How are you? No, I will not keep on with you. You have the drugs away from the radio. Go ahead.
Joseph Bracken, that we're talking about for the past 4 years, they were advocating for this particular issue. Because all everyone in this prison will form for people to feel good, to be able to give you a 4 million people to stand for this water code. So for me, he should take this particular water code serious. So let the person let this letter, let me keep it.
Okay, thank you. And also in favor of the president writing a letter. To this caller, hello? The very first female caller. Your name from where you join us?
I'm Chris, I'm calling from New Jersey.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I had a now I prefer the president writing letter right now. Everybody be written by the president. And before I dead, And that is incoming president about his father. Why do you want that? I support it.
Okay, you are also in support of it. Thank you so much.
The comments under the feed, they're overwhelming as well.
What's making
So
me?
this caller, hello.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing okay. What's about you?
Yeah, I'm Andrew Kesari calling from Stockton in station number 4.
Okay, Andrew, 1 minute.
Yeah, before I come on my point, I just want to tell the panelists thank you. To Madam Master, I just want to tell you that Prince Johnson is not only the status in this country. CDC had a coalition with the biggest non party. Because you know what our problem with it? You know what I think we are coming to die in power? For the women to take over, the one to join us to take over. Why would you be wishing other people evil? What I would do what he say, the work rank will be established.
Okay, thank you. You will do what you say, indeed, the work rank will be established. Thank you so much. Let's get something coming from the WhatsApp. Hello? Hello? Yes, go ahead. You have to go ahead. The lamp is very jammed. Go ahead, you live. Your name from where you join us?
Okay, I'm Theophilus Joe, and I join you from Turkey, Istanbul.
Okay, go ahead.
And let me just say thank you to Madam Washington. I want you to listen to me very carefully. We agree that people are saying the demon sent you. But I think the demon sent you to say the right thing at the right time. People who committed serious humanitarian law violation, Prince Johnson, rape our people, kill our mother, our fathers, see them going scot-free, enjoying the resources of the country, riding the best car in the country. And nothing has been done about that. That is very wrong. Very, 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 very wrong. He needs to be persecuted. So we need President Weah to call for the war to come. He must start the process. He shouldn't leave it with the incoming government. Let him start the process.
Okay, thank you
very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. To this caller, hello.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm grateful. Thank God for life. This is Pascal Davis on district number 6.
Okay, Pascal, go ahead. 1 minute.
Thank you so much. Well, of course, let's join the list of postcard and our mother to call on the president to ensure that that letter is written. You know, Ben, this is one of the reasons why these guys went against the president. And some of the Nigerians said President we are needed to establish the World Council. They paraded with that. When they were in the opposition, they said President we didn't establish the World Council, so they were coming to establish that. So we want the president to write the letter, and so Mr. Burton to come and seal on that. I mean, they want the president to establish that. And so we want to join Costa the left of all the president. This is Pascal Davis, the National Response and Defense Team, people who supported you. We are saying we want the establishment of World Council. It was being made clear that yes, Prince Johnson was involved with people play, and he must account for this action the rest of the world. Remember, here they don't have a tussle at the Capitol building, and they don't say want a World Council, and he said, bring your damn World Council. Sorry for that question. This World Council must be brought, and they must account for their actions. Mr. President, you need to leave the legacy so those of us who support you can want the establishment, and they World Council will be established from Mr. Blackard and his team. Thank you so much for the show.
Yeah, thank you, Pascal. 0777017 635 is the number to call. To this caller, hello.
Hello?
How are you?
Yeah. Sorry, I want to touch you on the I'm busy number. I want to call the show.
You live on the show, go ahead. Your name from where you join us?
Okay. Okay.
I will not keep you on the line.
I'm listening to
You
your
say you made
show.
a mistake. I'm trying to tell you that you made a mistake. Go ahead and you just keeping your friend and got to place in your call.
Henry, what you feel?
What up?
Exactly.
How are you?
Fine, listening to the people of Low Power here.
Okay.
You guys on the platform, just how much money.
Joining us from where?
Huh?
Where are you joining us from?
Yeah, joining you also from the town hall.
Okay. Go ahead, 1 minute.
Yeah, they're not the town hall. Yeah, let me appreciate the closing argument. Brother Costa, the rest of the whole you know, you know, it's our country. At time when President we came to power and the Liberian people expectation was for President we have to have ensured that we have the work council being established when he came to power and look at how separately the country was divided. He make effort to ensure that we be able to have a palaver our discussion. But we see that day by day in these people are coming in our country who commit heinous crimes against humanity in our country, are threatening our peace, and they are still keeping to remind us. They keep reminding us on the issues of what they did to our people, those of our brothers and sisters that were killed in the camp. And today, we still mourn their death. You understand? So we will not allow that to happen again. So we should all be able to govern our forces to ensure that we establish this wonderful work. And also, I like the recommendation that came from the lady in the studio there, and all of us are supporting it tonight. So I just call also to add my voice to the many voices to ask President we are to be able to communicate this letter to ensure that they leave it behind here, and then we'll be able to question Ambassador who will be the next president of Liberia very soon to ensure that he be able to put pen to paper to ensure that Liberia should establish a war front court, and then those people who committed heinous crime can be prosecuted. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Henry, let's go to
Henry, let's take some call here from the
diaspora.
diaspora. At least I got about 20 calls on the line. Some of them are already dropping off. So let's take the first caller here. 202 last 4 is 2214. Caller, your name and where you calling from. Let's hear from you. Okay.
Thank you so much, my auntie, my sister, that set it up. Look, when I listen to people I think that they are different for all the side, and that it's very bad for me. The same thing is criticize, and somebody say, very big guy, they try to get it there. It's bad. For me, I 100% support it, and like, even for a president starting tomorrow, or even tonight.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Breakable Power. Let's take our next caller here. Caller from 804. Last 4 is 7850. Caller, your name and where you calling from. Let's hear from you.
My name is D. Curtis.
Curtis, let's hear from you.
Hello, Lupa.
Go ahead, Curtis. Let's hear from you.
My name is D. Curtis. My question here is, why are we in a constant habit of playing with the Liberian people emotion and their intelligence? President Weah ruled the country for 6 years. He had the power, he had everything in his ability to establish this war crime court. For some of you, this is just an establishment. For other people, this is their family member. He started they grieved over it. We keep kicking this can down the road, passing it to the next person. The very same Prince Johnson lifted George Weah's hand and helped him to be elected. When he was elected and served, it was not implemented. Now you guys are talking he should write a letter and send it down to Bwaka. So when Bwaka play on the Liberian people emotion and intelligence, it will not happen, and then to push it down the curb. This is not anything any political leader in Liberia want to establish. Why you're playing with the people emotion?
So D. Curtis, the recommendation to the president should not be considered. Is that what you're saying?
He has the power.
Well, that's why he's being recommended.
So a quick correction. It is important that we give this correction. The recommendation is not for President Weah to write President Boycott.
Thank you, Ben.
Let's make that correction. This letter is not to be left on President Boycott's desk. It's for President Weah as the sitting president until January 22nd to write a
initiate
letter
the
to the
process.
United Nations and to the requisite international partners.
You're still on.
They
Hold on
have
1 second.
said- Because they have said, our international partners have come to Liberia and have said they will fund the establishment of a court only if we get it from a request from the government of Liberia. That is the request.
Thank you.
Not to
Okay.
give
Thank
to
you.
Joe Boycott. It's not to give to
So
President Boycott.
Exactly.
hopefully,
Thank you, Ben.
Curtis,
A lot
you
of
heard
people were
Ben's-
getting me confused. Thank you.
hopefully you heard Ben's statement addressing your concern. Okay. If you did not hear it, let me just repeat. Okay, so let me just try to repeat here. All right, as it was recommended again by the United Nations, if it is recommended by the president, all right, it will then be processed. So we're not asking to have this letter written by President Weah and put it on the desk as you insinuated for Honorable Boycott to come and implement. We're simply asking President Weah to get it done. He still have time to get it done. So have him to initiate the process. As we often will say, government is continuity. So the next government can come and complete it. In just in summary of what Ben said. So thank you.
Yeah, but we got the other callers now. So, but let me say this.
Yeah, we got the other caller.
Okay, so let's take other caller. Curtis,
It's also important to note that, like you said, government is continuity. President, we are just issuing an executive order putting a moratorium on the export of processed rubber. That executive order is binding on the Joe Boycott administration until they reverse it with another executive order.
Let's take these callers on here, and then I'm about to shut the line. Caller from 410, last four is 9430. Caller, your name and where you calling from. Let's hear from you.
Hello?
Okay, that caller hang up. Caller from 401 8939. Your name and where you calling from. Please go ahead. We are listening to you.
So the issue, so Mr. Karen Costa, we want to say, we don't want you to say anything to the president. As the president is listening, the lady has said it all because you're saying it today and the people go mad. So that means they feed to whatever education.
We can't hear them.
We can't hear. Let's move to
If you're on the phone, please, you're all the way back. Please, if you're on like a low speakerphone or Bluetooth, we cannot hear you. Please speak in the phone or the mic, please.
Hello?
Yeah, now go ahead. You sound like you're in the hall.
Okay. I'm coffee. And I said, what is my point is to Mr. Henry Costa. If you just leave that statement with whoever that makes the statement, because we don't want that people getting mad because of his, his statement, and he will be the one to tell the president it's okay. President Weah is listening to this station. The responsibility is only to do what he has to do. If you don't want to do it, like you are is what, like you are is, if you are decide.
Do you support the idea of having the president write the letter? Do you support it or not?
Yes, I do support that.
Thank you. Let's take the next caller here. Caller from 438, last four is 4232. Caller, your name and where you calling from. Let's hear from you.
Hello, my name is Boko Stewart, and I'm calling from Montreal, Canada. Let me say good evening to the team and good evening to Madam Washington. And I listened extensively to the program, and I would just like for Madam Washington to go in a little bit more details, about some of the threats they face as commissioners, so people can have a full understanding of what the work of the TLC was like, what were some of the things that commissioners have to undergo to be able to, develop a full-scale report, which is not to the public. And I really do think that she touched on it on the periphery, so if she could just go a little bit deeper into it, so that people can appreciate the level of work that was done. I know the level of work that was done because, my dad, John Stewart, was also on the board of the commissioners, and I have fully understood what was some of the things that went on behind the scene, all of the shenanigans, political shenanigans, from the
Thank you.
Ministry of Finance and other places.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Caller from 310, last four is 5282. Caller, your name and where you calling from. Guys, put your phones on mute, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Lofa Julius. This is SB Don calling from Toronto, Canada. First, I want to say again, thanks to you guys, closing argument, for having such a fantastic show. I think today you guys have solidified yourself again to be the absolute best premier media outlet out here that are unbiased, analysis on what's going on in Liberia. I want to say to Sis Mata, I think you are a gem of our time. And I think women like as yourself should be celebrated even more because you've done such a magnificent job when we're talking about war crimes court and accountability for atrocities in our country. So thank you for your work. By just reading the TRC report, there are things that we learned that I've learned today from this show that I wouldn't have known by just reading the report. So thanks for coming on the show. And I want to say yes. I'm in favor of President Biya writing that letter of recommendation to the United Nations because we need to have a deterrent in our country. We need people to be held accountable for crimes committed, but we also need people to understand that there are certain things we will not tolerate as a country and as a nation. So again, thank you for having me on the show. Thanks for having a wonderful show. I just want to give a quick shout out to my brother Emmanuel Savage, who has been one of the most consistent voices of the establishment of the war crimes court from the diaspora. So thanks to all of you guys. And we as Liberians, we support, the idea of President Biya written that letter to the UN. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Guys, the phone lines are blowing. Like I said, I have almost 20 some more calls over here. Guys, if you're on the line, put your phone on mute if you're not talking. There's too much noise in the back. If you're on the line, put your phone on mute if you're not talking. If you are on the line, put your phone on mute. Thank you. Caller for 817, last call is 1053. Caller, your name and where you calling from.
Thank you, Lofa. This is Rosemary Cooper from Dallas, Texas. I want to share similar sentiments with Mr. Wallace, SB Don that just called from Canada. This show really solidify you guys again to be the premier social media platform for good information. And I just want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate and thank Washington for such beautiful work he has done and continue to do. Just listening to you speak tonight, Ms. Washington, just went back, talking way back to the war days. I was 13 years old when the war started in Liberia. I experienced a lot. I've seen a lot. I actually seen and killed someone right before me. And then just listening to you tonight just make me also want to cry. But just to hear the struggle and the challenges, that you guys face, and the commission trying to get this report out. And there is a time in the season for everything. I want to believe that the time has come for this wonderful TRC or this war crimes court to take effect, because we cannot continue as a country to allow people who commit a heinous crime against humanity, against us, because I was there listening of the war from start to end. So be the decision maker. This generation, we have to change it. And I am support. Mr. President, if you are listening, if you are watching, please, like Madam Washington said, give the country a gift. You have already given us a gift. Congratulations. Thank you for accepting the election result in a timely manner. But just put an icing on the cake for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody. Closing argument.
Thank you, Rosalie.
Hello.
All right, let's take the next caller. Caller from 267. Last four is 8586. Caller, your name and where you calling from. And I'm gonna have to close the phone lines. Call still coming.
Yeah, we got it.
Yes, hi. This is John Sabo, and I'm calling from Central Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yes. The Madam in studio there, I want to thank you for your recommendation. But Unfortunately, I think you are having the wrong address. Somebody right now, no, if they say right now, you listen to John, but what he got to say. Whenever you have a concern about the war crime that I support, you need to address it to the president to say Yama Bwana. There is no or where he gets to say it's not all the power to do all the wrong things. So please, do the JSP, if y'all we are making a recommendation, I can guarantee you, never will go against it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's take out next caller here for 810. Last four is 3955. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Yes, thank you, Lova, and thanks to the guys on the show. And thanks to your studio guests. My name is Octavius of Human. Yeah, I would just wanted to add my voice on this to say that, I mean, based on what we know, and thanks to Imaya Savi, I mean, he's a great guy, he's very consistent on this issue, but I'm afraid that there'll be no war crime code, and it's very simple. If you want a war crime code, you have to go on the ground, be there, and educate Liberians, the voters. They will work a war crime code, and Imaya Savi has been doing that, but I don't think he's going to get it while he's still alive. After them, because it's simple. One, Jeremiah, yes. Just that even water is for sick and like I said. Couldn't see how Jeremiah never did a war crime for a lot. If you still walk into the first 6 years, he will lose in my county. And Jeremiah can understand that. So this thing is calculated. My you want to do it by the same time.
Gilman, do you support the letter? Do you support the letter from the president?
No.
Do you support the letter from the president? Simple question. Do you support the letter?
No.
Yeah, we gotta move. We gotta move on.
All right, let's take our next call. Call
Let that be the last one.
That's the last one. We gotta go.
Last one, yeah.
I beg to leave, guys.
320-330-0684. Call your name and where you calling from.
Hello, my name is Natasha Wolf.
All right. Let's pick caller 860. Last one is 8601.
We have to make the last one. People gotta close.
That's the last one. That's the last one on here, guys. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead. Your name and where you calling from.
So my name is John, and I call you from Panelists.
Too much noise in it. Yeah, all right, guys, we'll call it a night. That is it. Too much noise in the bag. We can close it up.
Yeah, look like you still on, so you gotta mute yourself.
You gotta mute yourself. Okay. Let's
It seems like the calls are still coming in. Everybody interested in the topic.
I think let's go to Ms. Massa and Costa then to do the closing. So we rest will take it.
Yeah.
Washington, you can go ahead.
Yes, okay. So I would just like to leave everybody with this food of thought. It's just a small statement I wrote here. Now we know that Liberians are divided on this issue of the transition, the way this transition is going, and then also on this lack of mandate of the president-elect. And I say lack of mandate, not disrespectfully, but when you have less than 2%, that propel you to power, it means that half of the people didn't vote for you. Half of the people don't think that your ticket was the best ticket. So the best thing to do now is to reach out to everybody else, take a word from former Vice President Al Gore of the United States. When he lost the election to George W. Bush, he said, but he lost his hometown of Tennessee. And he knew that if he had won Tennessee, he would have won the elections. And so the famous statement he gave was that it is time to go home and mend fences. So Ambassador Boyka, congratulations, sir, for winning this election. But we want to remind you that you do not have the mandate of the Liberian people because you won very narrowly, meaning that the country is split in half. Half of the people support you, half of them didn't support you. So moving forward, it would be very good, I think, in the interest of your presidency now. Thank God you wrote your statement saying you're going to be president of all Liberians. That's very good. But you need to make sure that it will be in action words rather than just saying it on paper. And another way is to also let your people around you know that it is okay for people like me to disagree sometimes. It is okay. It doesn't mean that we are your enemy. It simply means that we are Liberians who don't see things the way it is now. But let me just say quickly, to those on the other side of this issue, and I'm talking about these elections that just ended, well, maybe you think it doesn't matter. But it does matter because this is symbolic. To keep propelling a warlord, to keep supporting a warlord, to continue to hijack our democracy and divide our country further, it matters because it is symbolic of how we have degenerated as a people, how we have completely lost our moral compass as a people. We need to think about that seriously. And it also speaks for our fundamental values and what we represent collectively as a people. So when people like me and others on this platform and in the audience who think differently about these things, when we are a bit nervous of what this whole thing may portend for our country and our democracy, we don't say so because we want to hate you or we just want to be disrespectful. We say so out of genuine concern for our country and for everybody else. But let's just hope that we'll keep our fingers crossed. Reverend Peabody, you're in the things of God, you're spiritual. We got to pray for Liberia, and we got to also pray for the president-elect. Let's just hope that this hyena that he's brought in the chicken coop does not scatter all the chickens one fine day. Thank you very much for having me on your show. It's been an absolute pleasure engaging you guys. And thank you very much.
Can come back. Can you come back sometime, please? Can you?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Anytime. Happy holidays to everybody, to you and your families. And we are all Liberians. I do not love Liberia more than you. You do not love Liberia more than me. Let's always remember that before we decide people are our enemies, we need to destroy them. You can disagree with people, but you have no right to think you can destroy other people because you disagree with them.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Sis Masa. Guys, if you will please allow Sis Masa, when you get off, it's okay for you to please follow the show. We got, I think Henry said he got 2 calls from back home, and they are very important. He wants us to share on this one. Please let us take those calls from back home, please.
Sure.
Henry, go ahead, brother.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, good evening.
Got any from where you join us?
Okay, this is Uncle Dollar, calling from Birmingham.
Okay, Answer, go ahead. 1 minute.
Yeah. I thank all of you in studio. I've been praying for the past 6 years. From the time Mr. Weir took power, I've been praying to sound a wonderful document. This man called Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson tied my big brother on the life pool and put gas on him and playing alive. I've been wishing, I'm in tears. I've been sitting out in tears. I've been wishing for justice to be done in Liberia. So, Safe Master, I tell you, thank you. I tell Allah to bless you. And by the grace of Allah, you will be blessed. Justice will come to Liberia. I'm in tears, I'm speaking. So, thank you, all of you. Thank you very much. And I ask George, President George, we have to sign this document. So, sign it and leave it behind him before leaving power. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So,
is there another call?
Wow.
My God.
No call for now. So,
yeah.
Lofa?
Yes, my
Sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
If you don't have the second caller, please, this last caller just reminded me there's a letter that I wanted to share with you all. It's very brief. It's just only 2 short paragraphs. This is a letter from the sister of one of Prince Johnson's victim. And she wrote this letter online, and I copied it, and we did a human rights magazine, and we featured it. So this is a letter. It says, a letter to Prince Johnson from the late Michael Doe's sister, a voice, a victim. And it was published by the Daily Observer newspaper Monday, May 28, 2001. And the lady who wrote the letter, her name is Clara Doe Mvogo, Monrovia, Liberia, May 28, 2001. Senator Prince Y. Johnson, Capitol Hill, Monrovia, Liberia. Senator Johnson, allow me to introduce myself. I am the sister of the late Michael K. Doe Sr. In 1990, you killed my brother by shooting him in the back in your office at the Hotel Africa and instructing your soldiers to throw him out of the window. The late Pryor Davis, who helped to bury him, told me this when he visited his family in Texas. Mr. Davis also said he and some of the employees at the hotel who my brother had befriended buried my brother. They showed my mother where he was buried when she returned to Liberia. This is how my brother could have a funeral in the Catholic Church. I forgave you a long time ago after I returned to Liberia in 2006. My brother and many of those killed by you and your people were never involved in any of the conflicts in Liberia. He was not the cause of the suffering of the people of Nimba, which you have used as a justification for some of the killings you did and those you ordered your soldiers to kill. My reason for writing you this letter is to ask you to stop opposing the establishment of a war and economic crimes code for Liberia. We need to close this chapter of Liberia and hopefully bring those who were responsible for the killings, looting, and sufferings of the Liberian people to face the penalties for their crimes. My mother cried many days for my brother, from the day she heard he had died until the day she died in 2004. Other mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, children, and other relatives are still grieving for the loss of their loved ones. You know some of those you killed and had killed were not involved in the war. So even though some of us have forgiven you, it is time for you to ask for forgiveness openly and allow the law to take its course. Yours truly, Clara Doe Mvogo. So this
Hmm.
letter is from the sister of one of Prince Johnson's victim, Michael Doe. We feature Michael Doe on the TRC, his family, they gave statement and they came and testified. Yeah.
Really, really sad. Really, really sad that. I mean, it's a lot of people. I got my own relative, cousin that were killed right in the presence of eight worker when they pleaded for him. You know, Gusta Bachu, he was killed. You know, right in front of the eight worker that he worked for, and you know, so it's sad that this man is the de facto prime minister in Liberia. We must also say that there are others that are there, and I hope Justice will have guys like butt naked that is still running around Liberia and talking. We got butt naked. We got George Bully and others, even some that are serving on the interim John team right now that was involved with some of these different group, Limbo and other group. We shouldn't pass them. They all should be involved and face justice.
Well, thank you, Madam Washington. I want to thank you for taking the time today to come. I think you've sparked an important conversation that should not go quiet. One of my take from this evening conversation that you've had, that we've had here tonight with you, and it's something somebody just posted it. It's a quote where you said, I think you said something about us being able to disagree, but me disagreeing with you doesn't give you the right to destroy me. In paraphrase, not verbatim, but I thought that was very powerful because we've seen how venomous our politics have gotten. We've seen how small-minded both sides sometimes. When you don't agree with one side, the other side, it gets so vicious. And I've always reminded people, and I said, this is not a zero-sum game. It's not a zero-sum game. 6 years come very fast and they go very fast. It was just the other day, George Weah was getting inaugurated as president. Today, he's on his way out as outgoing president. But I want to thank you for coming. I think what you've done here is you spark a conversation, and we want to assure you that we on this platform is not going to let this conversation die. We will make the proper representation. I'm glad the president was watching. I'm sure he has heard the message. And like you rightly said, this is not a you got to do it, not a hammer down beating his neck. He's the president of the country. He is, he understands what it is. We hope that he will take these recommendations in consideration. The last thing I will want to hammer down in my closing is to reiterate what I said, because we are very, 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 very good at misinterpreting certain things. Let me repeat what I said. The recommendation is not for President George Weah to write a letter to incoming President Joseph Boyka. That is not the recommendation. Let me repeat. The recommendation is not the question I asked. In fact, I asked the question that is there a possibility for President George Weah to write a letter to the international community, meaning the United Nations and the United States? Because you are right. When that ambassador for war crimes went to Liberia, she said the Liberian government and Liberian people don't have to worry about funding. She was very clear. The only thing that you have to worry about is to get your president to do a request, because your president represents you. So the question was, is it well within his right now as outgoing president, be it he leaving in January, can he write this letter? And you said you've already gotten ahead of that so that he should leave a gift to the Liberian people. So that's just for clarity to other people who don't understand it, who saying, oh, well, we say lead letter for Joe Boyka and then Joe Boyka will kick it down. No, that's not what was discussed. President Weah could decide he's not writing this letter. He could decide that he's not going to do it. And like you rightly said, President-elect Boyka will come to power. We don't have any hope or confidence that he's probably going to do it. But what I find fascinating is the fact that, this issue is something that, this issue is, everybody got their own flavor, right? And I hope at some point in time we come together as a country and make a decision on what we intend to do as a nation, on what we intend to do, because we're really a group of people with complex personalities, and it's just sometimes it's just funny when I'm reading the live feed.
I'm enjoying it.
It's fascinating because this is the beauty of democracy. It's a place of intellectual ideas. Everybody can have different thoughts and different minds, but like you said, let's respect each other. You may disagree with me, I may disagree with you, but it doesn't give you the right to feel that you are more Liberian than I am. So I want to thank you for coming, and we want to welcome you here anytime. You have this platform available to you anytime to come and talk about the issues. And we promise to wear our suits the next time you come, because Lofa.
You know what? We talked about this. We talked about this in the back. You sure had to bring it up here. Well, you know what? Sis Masa, thank you though. Honestly, I appreciate the fact that you're on here. You owe me lunch, right? Is it lunch or dinner?
Whatever one. You my favorite one.
But yeah, thank you though. I appreciate we appreciate the fact that you were here with us tonight. Wonderful conversation. We'll let the guys, we don't want to hold you, but you can stay in and listen to the closing statement from all of us here. But it was a wonderful conversation and very insightful. Some of us learned. We learned a lot. And we will continue to push for the opportunity to learn. Like I often say to you, right? The fact that you can call me personally, all right, to educate me on a lot of things that are happening in the back. A lot of Liberians are not as opportune to that. So I'm grateful, but we cannot be selfish to have people like yourself and keep you to us and not give you the opportunity to educate other people. And so I'm very glad that you're on here tonight. You gave your view on several things, and I hope that we can always keep the corridor open so that you can appear as often as possible until justice is served in Liberia. So with that said, guys, we'll open up the closing argument. Hopefully starting with Tomalin, who actually started a fight with my sister. We're gonna have to talk about that. Who started the fight? You or Tomalin started the fight?
Tomalin started the fight.
Tomalin started the fight. So we're gonna talk about that. But Tom, you can go ahead, close us up, give us your closing statement. Let's kind of wrap it up from here.
Yeah, it was good to have Ms. Washington with us. I mean, she did a brilliant job. I can tell you, she has provoked a national discussion that's trending right now. My phone's been beeping, and in fact, she brought those who were being talked about. Most of them started to watch the show today. They were tuning and they got the message, I think. And I can tell you that the next 6 years, we're always asking ourselves, we need more strong Liberian women. After Madam Salib, we're not seeing nobody's coming strong to stick that play that to come here to be a voice for on the issues of national concern. We hope the next 6 years you will be more active, very active in the politics and everything to make this country better. And again, which is a pleasure. And then issue about Michael Doe, yeah, I remember Michael Doe very well. He was the Hotel Africa manager, I think, when he got murdered. I heard about his murder in Liberia at that time, and peace to his blessed memory.
He comes to Roberts.
Yeah. And so we look forward to this discussion going, and we pray that it won't just fall on deaf ears. It requires pressure from all over. And lastly, we know that people are raising issues about salaries for civil servants for December. They are asking us to raise this issue for them. Well, we hope that we discuss it on Friday. And also, the issue about, the issue between, I don't know, the two former finance ministers going back and forth, the HPX and the Metal Steel stuff. We'll get involved. There's a closing argument.
Right.
We'll talk about it Friday too. We'll know what's happening with Amara Kone. Amara Kone, you are welcome to come on the closing argument. And former Minister Twe is also welcome. And lastly, make no mistake, President Weah is still president. He has 33 more days as president, and he still have all the authority the Constitution provides him to act. So he still enjoys the privilege as president of the Republic of Liberia until January 22nd in 33 days at 12:01 p.m. when hopefully President-elect Boga takes the oath of office. So, guys, it was a good show. And lastly, on Friday, we'll be having a special, maybe 20 minutes or so. We'll be having a special fundraiser for our guys in Liberia, in Truth FM and Hard FM, to give them some blessing for the Christmas with them and their family. So on Friday, let us all we can show love to them, and then we can dispatch what we get we receive on Friday. We can send it to them straight on Saturday morning, and they can be blessed. But guys, again, thanks to Sister Master again. Like Ben said, welcome, and we look forward to continue to have this engagement. Thank you so much.
Definitely, Dr. Peabody.
Well, it was a great show, Commissioner Washington. You came here and lay it out, and I hope we will not only see this as an attack to them, but to us, other people, but we'll see this as something they can learn from and help to improve our country. I think you said it right. And I just hope that President Weah is still president of Liberia till January 22nd. So he can make that decision if he wants to. If I was him, I would go back, sit there, just meditate on it, give myself a whole night, a whole day, and just sit there and think about it. Is this right? There are a lot of people who are still haven't healed. I talk about Michael Doe. I remember when I left my home, Pennsville, and went to taking refuge in Newtown under the tree when Prince Johnson brought Michael Doe and others from West Africa and displayed them and going to kill them, and other family members and friends, that this guy killed, and we take a guitar and play and sing and do all kinds of stuff. Today he's walking around, he's been awarded as senator of Liberia. Today he's been awarded as the big papa who make election decision in Liberia. Where in the world a gruesome killer will ever be awarded such title in the country? Only in Liberia. And I hope we can change from that. I hope Liberian can get out of that move. He's not a savior. He's done nothing. He even killed his own people for Nimba, and I know one of the reasons I probably won't go back to Nimba anytime soon. I built a school I should have gone to dedicate, but I ain't going around there because I don't know what he's going to do to me, but I can say that the Liberian people should not encourage him. President Barker is a man of wisdom, and I think we should give him a chance as well. We shouldn't just sit there. There are others who are there, who are in that country that have committed heinous murder to other people. General Budnicki, who brag about taking Gamo seed and going out there and burning people alive and stuff like that. Those people should not be walking around in that country. They should not. They should face the consequences of their deadly behavior. There are others who are there, and I think they need to be brought to justice. And we just hope that the victim family, some of them who did not see justice for the family, have even died. But I hope one day they will just roll in the grave and say justice has been served. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peabody. Ben Sanvee. Actually, you know what? Let's
No,
take
I'm
Kev
done.
Hassan and Benny. Oh, you done already?
Yeah, I was the first. Yeah.
Kev Hassan, close. Go ahead, give your closing comment, statement, and then.
Well, there was a question I wanted to ask
Again, Kev.
Washington, but
Yeah, Kev, just do your closing.
Yeah, just do your closing another time, bro. Another time.
There's a time. Hey guys, there's a question I wanted to ask her. I don't know if she can answer, but I will not close. That will be my closing. Um, about a post that the something you said that Front Page Africa carried about JMB with my former CEO. You did a post and Front Page Africa carried it. You say it was a bad move. That would be my closing if you answer that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Kev. So it was all within the throes of elections activity and elections fever. I made a statement when JNB chose his running mate because I was hoping that he will not choose somebody from Prince Johnson camp, and I would say that I do not know Jeremiah Kuhn. I've only heard of him, see him around. I do not know of him, and he's not the subject. He's not. I'm not fixated on him. Let's just say that, but he represents Prince Johnson Party, and Prince Johnson should not even be operating a political party in Liberia. So when President-elect Joseph Boyka chose Jeremiah Kuhn, it was not about Jeremiah Kuhn in my estimation. I thought it was about elevating Prince Johnson. And the post I wrote that was published by the media was that I thought that by choosing the party of Prince Johnson, that JNB was actually bringing Prince Johnson within a breath away from the Liberian presidency. That was my exact quote. I said, Prince Johnson was not a breath away from the Liberian presidency. And I did make a prediction we didn't come true. I said that it was a wrong move for Liberia. It was a poor choice. It was a bad move for Liberia. And I said someone who has murdered people in the presence of their family members, raped women and stuff. Prince Johnson had a whole lot of women on his base, sexually molesting them. It was wrong for JNB to select his party as his major running mate. And I said that the Liberian people would not vote for him. In fact, I was calling upon the Liberian people not to vote for JMB because of the Prince Johnson factor. And I remember I said he would not win the election, he will lose because of Prince Johnson. And if he won the election, I will come back publicly and congratulate him, which I've done. So he won the elections, but we know it was extremely very narrow. And I went back on my post. I congratulated him, but I waited for President Weah to concede. So after President Weah conceded,
I was actually again. You're quite correct on that one. What you're saying, you're quite correct. I was also asking about the Front Page Africa post about that GMB took with Stenton Waterspoon. You did a post about.
Yeah. So I wrote up when he came to the United States and he met with Stanton and they took a picture. I thought it was in poor taste because don't get me wrong, I don't have anything personal against Stanton, but I was just saying that I didn't think it was a wise decision by JNB. Stanton is a Liberian. Yes, maybe he could have engaged him at another time, but Stanton is indicted and he's been prosecuted and he's awaiting. He's been sentenced, and I think January 31st, he's supposed to report to prison. I think so. And so to have the president-elect publicly, the first basically social action that he performed was with a convicted felon. I thought it was in poor taste. Not because I want to put Stanton down, because Stanton is already being he's already been held accountable. I'm not God. I'm not going to beat him down to the ground when he's already down. But I was looking at the implication and what it portends and what it symbolizes for the presidency. So you got Prince Johnson behind you, people already making noise about. Then you got people that Alex started and who they used to call King Kong, or corruption King Kong. Then you got all the other people. And then you come to the diaspora, the first person you meet with is this character who is on his way to prison. Yes, I mean, he's a Liberian, fine. But he could have called Stanton because I understand that Stanton played a major financial role in his winning election, whatever it is. But he could have called him to say thank you. But to be seen on the picture here everywhere, I mean, we live in the West, some of us. This is so unprecedented. Why do we always have to do things differently in Liberia? So that's where I was, Kev. I thought it was a poor decision. I thought it was poor judgment, and I called upon his people to help to organize, the president-elect, because sometimes people thinking they're doing the right things, and then they kind of realize, oh no, I shouldn't have done it. So that's where I was.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I think that's. Oh yes.
I think that's. Oh, okay.
All right, guys. It was a great show. Let me give Tomalin the opportunity to just extend a congratulatory message to, some of our supporters. Go ahead, Tomalin.
Yes, this is the daughter of one of our advisors, Lofa. I mean, our patients, Lofa baby, Siama. Her daughter graduated today from Townsend University. Want to congratulate her.
Awesome.
On an argument.
Awesome. Congratulations.
She's a religious.
Congratulations.
Our show. Thank you. Congratulations, man.
Beautiful, man. Good job.
Yes.
And in addition to that, just to add, patient Lofa Baby is actually one of the advisors and member of the critique team of the closing argument. Just for a lot of you who don't understand or don't know this, the critique team that is chaired by Sister Gwen, they have their own low forum where they give us input, critique us, not based on who know you or whatever. They tell us their mind, and that's it. And she's one of those on the team as well. But as we always say here, you're encouraged to be a part of that team if you are interested, and we encourage you to be a part of it because the closing argument represents the idea of every Liberian. So come and be a part of the closing argument and let us all part in the transformation of Mama Liberia. In my closing statement, I just want to say, great show tonight. It was wonderful to have all of you guys on here, and hopefully we can move Liberia forward under one umbrella and understanding that it is upon all of us to play our roles as Liberians and not to, hold personal anything that is said. All of the insults that are thrown here, including the ones that were just sent to my box, I want to say to you, brother, sister, thank you for the insults. Continue to be a part of the closing argument whenever you hear it. Come and be a part of it. But we say thank you, especially to the guy in studio back home in Liberia. Thank you, Henry, for committing to being a part of it. Those of you,
somebody say you might add her. I see them putting number or something. So.
Oh yeah, but
yo, please get on Friday. Let raise money, guys, man. I beg you, Friday.
Mark and Charlotte want to get on that from the situation room in how you call the table, the round table, right? In Maryland.
The high table.
The high table. Mark and Charlotte want to be on that too.
Gwen is actually following. Hopefully she can take note. Anybody here, Lo-Fi patient, Lo-Fi baby, whatever, whichever one of you guys are on here, please take note and add whoever is on there, because we are not allowed to contribute extensively to that. But again, guys, it was a great show. You all have yourselves a wonderful time.
Thank you, guys.
We'll do what we can. Good night.
Thank you.
Somebody said hiding went out. People like grew out hiding to the airport.
So Friday, man. God bless you guys.
Hey guys, have a good one. Henry, thank you, man. You the man, Henry. You the man.
Thank you,
the man.